Good morning. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for joining us. A quick shout out to our production staff here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Of course, a lot of different live streams going on, a lot of different videos, interviews, all the things. So some great people working behind the scenes here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. At 11 a.m., the president participates in an announcement with the administrator of the EPA, of course, Lee Zeldin. That'll be from the Oval Office. We'll have that here live as soon as we see it. Speaking of the president, he spoke with reporters upon arriving back to D.C. yesterday after his Coast Guard commencement speech in Connecticut. So let's take a look at the first clip of the broadcast.
So I was just watching, we have big news on Cuba, as you know, with the indictment of Castro. So a lot of people have suffered very big, very at levels that few people would understand, and I think the Cuban population of Miami and certainly beyond Miami, people that came there that were decimated, whose families were ruined, appreciate what the Attorney General just did today and was just doing now. He's just watching it. So we have Cuba on our mind. Very important. It's been a lot of problem for a lot of years, and this was I think it was a very big moment for people that, not only Cuban Americans, but people that came from Cuba, that want to go back to Cuba, people that want to see their family in Cuba. I think this is a very big day, very important day. They supported me to the nth degree. They supported me at levels that nobody's ever seen before. And so I think it's a very important moment.
Mr. President? What happened, Mr. President?
Say it?
What's coming next for Cuba?
Well, we're going to see. It's a failing nation. You see that. It's falling apart. They have no oil, they have no money. It's a failing nation, so I just can't tell you that. But we're there to help. We're there to help the families, the people. And again, a lot of those people are related to me in the sense that I've had such a great relationship with Cuban Americans. They supported me at a 94% level. That's a pretty good level. And their relatives are there. So we got to, on a humanitarian basis, we're there to help.
Mr. President was there last week.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that at all?
Well, we have a lot of people there. We had CIA there. We have Marco is there. Marco's parents, as you know, were from Cuba. So we have a lot of expertise in Cuba. And it's not going to be like the biggest thing we've ever done, but I will tell you, to a lot of people, it's going to be one of the most important. They've been looking for this moment for 65 years. So we'll see what happens. But we're going to, in the meantime, we're going to have to help them out. They have no way of living. They have no food. They have no electricity. They have no energy at all. But they do have great people. There are a lot of great people. I mean, I have so many Cuban friends in Miami, mostly in Miami and Florida, and they're unbelievable people. They're unbelievable entrepreneurs, and they'd like to go back. I think hopefully they're going to want to live here, but they want to go back. Maybe they'll invest. We'll see what happens. But we're freeing up Cuba.
Mr. President, how much longer do you anticipate the embargo having to be in place on Cuba?
We'll see. We'll be announcing it pretty soon.
What's on the table here, Mr. President? Should we expect any escalation here, or should they expect...
With Cuba?
Yes.
No. You won't. There won't be escalation. I don't think there needs to be. Look, the place is falling apart. It's a mess, and they've sort of lost control. They've really lost control of Cuba. I don't want to say that.
Mr. President, Gavin Newsom is on Capitol Hill today. He says that he doesn't think J.D. Vance has what it takes to come after you. What's your response to that?
Who said that?
Gavin Newsom.
He said it doesn't have what?
He says that the era of Trump ends with you, and that J.D. Vance doesn't have what it takes to come after you.
Well, look, we've done a lot, and J.D.'s very talented. He's a smart guy. He'll do very well if it's J.D. We have a lot of very talented people. So I think hopefully we're going to leave something that's going to be real easy to run. We're doing a lot. We're doing a lot, and J.D.'s a very talented guy.
Is Iran have to respond after you said yesterday you're about an hour away from making a decision? Where does that stand today? Have you heard anything from them?
It's right on the borderline, believe me. If we don't get the right answers, it goes very quickly. We're all ready to go. We have to get the right answers. It would have to be a complete 100% good answers. And if we do, we save a lot of time, energy, and lives, most importantly.
How long will you wait?
Could go very quickly. Or a few days. It could be a few days, but it could go very quickly. Iran is a defeated nation. We're dealing with some people, and actually, I must tell you, we're dealing with some very good people. We're dealing with people that are, I think, far more reasonable than the people that are really no longer with us. We're dealing with some people with talent, with good brain power, and we're pretty impressed by it. So hopefully those people will make a deal that's going to be great for everybody.
Are you getting tired of the
But
back and
I
forth?
don't know. Do I get what?
Are you tired of the back and forth?
I never get tired. But what I like to do, if I can save war by waiting a couple of days, if I can save people being killed by waiting a couple of days, I think it's a great thing to do.
Stephen Colbert's last show tomorrow night. What's your message to him? The late night host Stephen Colbert. It's his last show after being such a
I'll have a message at a later date. Okay.
Sir, on Iran, did the U.S. offer Iran oil sanctions relief during these talks, as Iranian TV was reported?
No, I haven't heard that. No. I'm not doing any relief until they sign an agreement. When they sign an agreement, we can get that place built up again and have something that's really a good country for the people. But no, we haven't offered anything.
The rise of AI, they're worried that their kids are not going to be able to have jobs someday because AI will
I'll tell
take.
you, AI has been amazing because right now we have more jobs, more people working right now in the United States by far than we ever had before. And outside of the war, and I assumed the economy was going to go down, the stock market would go down 20-25%. It's actually up. The stock market is higher now than it was before I started the Iran situation. And on the Iran, I had no choice because they were going to have a nuclear weapon. We're not going to give them a nuclear weapon. But that's going to end soon, one way or the other. Oil is going to come tumbling down. There's so much oil. We have 1,600 ships in the Strait that are loaded up with oil that are going to be coming out very soon. So we'll have to see. But the military has been unbelievable. The blockade has been infallible. Not one ship has gotten through the blockade. 37 have tried. They all wish they didn't.
Can you tell us about your call with Erdogan?
Yeah, I had a very good call with President Erdogan, and pretty standard. We have a very good relationship. Isn't it nice that I have relationships with some very tough people? He's a tough guy, and but I have a relationship with him that nobody else does. He's actually done a good job. He's been, I think very much of an ally. Some people would doubt that, but I think he's been a great ally, and his people respect him. His people respect him a lot.
Mr. President, response to people that are critical of your settlement over your IRS case about the tax now that you can't be prosecuted for tax?
Yeah, well, what happened is I was suing IRS for a lot of different reasons. One of the reasons is they released my tax returns, which they're not allowed to do. Now, they showed I pay a lot of tax. I may even release my current returns because they show I pay a lot of money. But they're not supposed to do that. They were in lockboxes as president. And they released them. And a certain firm released them, which was, I guess, a private firm. But it released them to a lot of the fake news. And the fake news went, and you're just not allowed to do that. And many other things happened. So I released them from the lawsuit, and I guess they made a settlement of some kind. I wasn't involved in the settlement. I could have been involved, but I didn't choose to be. So they made a settlement. Also, the anti-weaponization of people. I mean, people were destroyed. They went to jail. Their families were ruined. They committed suicide. All the Biden administration and the Obama administration, both of them. I mean, the Obama administration started it. The Biden administration was horrible in terms of what they've done to people is incredible. And we're reimbursing those people for their legal fees and for their costs and for anybody involved. But they destroyed people. People committing I read the other day, a person committed suicide over it. They went, it was the most violent thing I've ever seen in politics, what they did. And yet if I say, oh, let's look at this one or that one, they say weaponization, weaponization. What they did in terms of weaponization will never be allowed to happen in this country again. So we think that those people, we think that anybody involved in that process should partake. And you're talking about peanuts compared to the value. It destroyed the lives of many, many people. Thank you very much, everybody.
So the president, of course, speaking to the reporters right after landing in Maryland there, of course, Joint Base Andrews, after speaking in Connecticut to the Coast Guard for that commencement address. Let's get to a couple of our great sponsors here, and then we'll bring our first live interview guest onto the broadcast. First, let's go to Birch Gold Group. When there are supply constraints on commodities, prices surge, and you see it there with the fuel prices when the Strait of Hormuz was blockaded. And we also know that gold is a limited commodity. They mine it out of the ground, of course, and when it's gone, it's gone. Governments can't just print more of it. And that's why everyone from central banks to savvy savers are diversified with gold. So if you've been thinking about it for years but have still never moved some of your savings into physical gold, Birch Gold Group is who we trust to help you. So now through May 29th, Birch Gold is giving first-time gold buyers a rebate of up to $10,000 on qualifying purchases. So for details and a free information kit on diversifying into gold, all you have to do is text Trump to that number you see on your screen there, 989898. Birch Gold could actually help you convert an existing IRA or a 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. So just text Trump to the number 989898 to see if you qualify for a first-time gold buyer rebate of up to $10,000. Again, that's Trump to 989898. When it comes to healthcare, people are looking for something simple: access, control, and peace of mind. And right now, that's not always easy to get. So you've probably experienced it. Those long wait times, packed waiting rooms, dealing with insurance and still not getting what you need when you need it. That's why more Americans are turning to All Family Pharmacy. They've been building a system here that's simple, safe, and secure. It's simple. You go online, you choose what you need, and fill out a short medical form. It's also safe. A licensed doctor reviews your request and prescribes if appropriate. And it's secure. Your information and transactions are protected from start to finish. And they offer access to more than 400 prescription medications, from everyday maintenance medications to antibiotics, antivirals, ivermectin, mebendazole, NAD+, and more, all shipped directly to your door. So there's no confusion, no delays, just a better way to get what you need. This American Independent Pharmacy, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN 10 promo code at checkout. You'll get 10% off. Great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. And speaking of All Family Pharmacy, joining us now is the owner of All Family Pharmacy, Michael Kunzler. Michael, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to switch over to that Zoom here on interview. And thanks so much for joining us here on Right Side.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Definitely. Let's start from that 30,000-foot view. The cold, flu, sinus infection, migraines, stomach bugs, COVID, and in some cases now in the United States, the hantavirus. You guys really have it covered when it comes to the medications needed for all of that plus more.
Yeah, so we can cover just about every basis right now on the market with all of these illnesses, all of these viruses, pandemics, plandemics, whatever you want to call them. We're always going to encourage our consumers, our patients, the people who want American medical freedom to be prepared. That's all it's about. It's don't be scared of a pandemic. It's just be prepared. If there is one to come, whether it's a pandemic, it's a COVID, it's a flu, it's sinuses, it's allergies, it's travel. There are so many instances where medication can come in need. And we just urge people to just be prepared for, what is to come. And so we believe as an American, you have that right. Your traditional doctor is probably not going to give you the ability to be prepared for the flu or for COVID or sinus infection. They're going to want you to come in when they're sick and wait in the waiting rooms. Go to your corporate chain pharmacies where you have to sit in line for 30 minutes with a bunch of people who are probably getting vaccinated or tested for flu, whatever the case may be, when you could just utilize an online service like ours, where we're going to ship it directly to your door ahead of time to help you stay prepared.
So on top of staying prepared, when you look at the world headlines, right, you see in Africa, there's this Ebola outbreak. You see, the cruise ship situation a couple weeks back with the hantavirus and some other things maybe going on out there in the world. How do you guys obviously monitor what's going on out there, and then you just kind of switch gears appropriately when it comes to saying, hey, here's a medication for X, Y, and Z thing that's happening out there, right?
Yeah, so we usually sit down, we'll have a conversation. Our pharmacists will get together with myself as well as some of our physicians that we work directly with, and a plan of action to see what is best to have prepared, when to run a sale on certain products based on what is coming or what we feel is coming. So we're always going to have a medication for something that's out there. We're obviously, when COVID came around, nobody knew what it was. It took a little bit, but within 6 to 12 months, we were familiar with ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. We had thousands and thousands of people nationwide exercising their rights as an American to purchase ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine from us as a pharmacy, where they were refused from their own pharmacies. They were refused from their own doctors. And so we're always going to be prepared. We're going to stay ahead of the curve and try to give Americans access to these medications.
On top of that, we talk about antivirals, antibiotics, and a number of other prescriptions out there, but we also talk about maintenance medications a lot on this broadcast. So when we talk about all family pharmacy, can you go over some of the maintenance medications that are the run-of-the-mill things that you guys see people purchasing from your independent pharmacy?
Yeah, traditional thyroid medication, blood pressure, statins, cholesterol, metformin, certain diabetic medications. We don't do insulin. Insulin is very expensive to ship, and it should be a lot cheaper than it is on the market now. We're still fighting, and I know Trump is still fighting to try to bring those prices down of insulin. I'm not including the GLPs in that conversation. We're specifically just talking about insulin. So there's one main reason why we don't do it. It's too expensive, and especially to ship. But there are so many other maintenance medications out there for the Americans to stock up on, and that's specifically heart, thyroid, hormone, migraine, headache, nausea, you name it.
So if we look at a whole slew of these prescriptions and medications, I mean, do you guys do over-the-counter stuff too? If I wanted ibuprofen from you guys, or no?
So we actually do ibuprofen 800 milligram. It's a prescription item. It is the top tier strength for you to use. Most people use it for injuries. They use it for migraines. They use it for headaches. We like the 800 on the pharmaceutical side, specifically because it's a lot cheaper than purchasing Advil. You get like a 100-count bottle of 800 milligram tablets, and I think the price is like $15, $20, maybe $25. So it is actually a much better deal than going to your convenience store and buying, 20 Advils for $20. Where those are 200 milligrams. And then, you have a physician, you have access to getting it prescribed and used appropriately based on the physician's directions.
One more quick question about the ibuprofen. So 800 milligram, it's pretty strong stuff when it comes to ibuprofen. So if it's much lighter of just some aches and pains or maybe a headache, can you just cut that, in half and just take the 400, right? I mean, would you advise that or no?
A lot of our pharmacists, they're very weary about cutting tablets. And the reason that is because the consumer cuts it, not the pharmacist. And so we want to make sure if you cut it, it is cut evenly. There are products out there available online that you could purchase that will show you how to cut a tablet evenly down the middle so that you're getting the 400 milligrams to fight the aches and pains. So yes, there is a way to cut the tablet, and it'll actually last a lot longer that way, which is a great idea to do. We just encourage safe ways of cutting those tablets so that you're getting the exact amount you want, not a little bit less, not a little bit more. But yeah, again, our pharmacists are a little bit weary when it comes to somebody else doing the cutting, but they're going to encourage purchasing one of those tools that help you.
Now, that makes a lot of sense. And finally, let's talk about the access to medications. I mean, we always let our viewers know about the simplicity, the security and safety when ordering from your guys' independent pharmacy. Can you go over some highlights of that process, the simple, secure, and safe way that people can actually get their hands on these prescriptions?
Yeah, it's simple in the fact that you just go online, choose the medications you're looking for. You'll fill out some medical questions, and we'll submit that over to a doctor for review. It's simple in the process of some state regulators don't require a face-to-face or video conference visit. Some of them just require a medical review, the doctor to make a determination. But again, that it's up to the doctor who makes the determination. It's not up to us. We allow the doctor to make the proper protocols. They make the call on that. And then they send us the prescription once they're finalized, whether they have a face-to-face consultation with the patient or they prescribe it based on a medical review with, a good amount of medical questions answered. And then we supply the prescription direct to the patient. So it's simple in that. It's safe because everything goes through, our encrypted process. We have HIPAA compliant servers out there. Everything is safe on our server. We don't sell information like 99.9% of companies on the internet. That's why everybody's storing cookies, is because they want to sell your information. CVS, Walmart, Walgreens, what are they doing with your information? What is Amazon Pharmacy doing with your information, right? Our job is to protect our clientele, to protect our consumers, because we don't want them to go to corporate chains. We don't want them to fall into the trap of CVS and what PBMs gatekeep on our patients. We want them to stay with us. We want them to have access to these medications real time. And then we want to, have conversations with them, enlighten them on what's new on the market, what's going on in the healthcare industry. So we'll never allow that information to be leaked to anybody in the corporate level. And it's fast because we get you your medications in 1 to 4 business days. There's not one online service like ours that'll get you the medication within 1 to 4 business days that's out there. They usually take 7 to 10 days. It's a prolonged process. They make you jump through hoops and ladders. It's a pain in the butt. When you come to us, it's simple, easy, and fast. And we try to do it that way because that's what Americans want. They're tired of waiting. They're tired of waiting on our political system. They're tired of waiting on this broken healthcare system that has failed them for years. So we've made it simple, fast, easy process that's safe and secure. And we've tried to make it as convenient and as cheap as possible. Our job is to bring down costs, and we're hoping to continue to do that.
And then on top of that, you have licensed doctors that review the request, and then if appropriate, then they get the prescription. So from every angle, you guys have it covered. That's why you're doing great there at All Family Pharmacy. And the owner of All Family Pharmacy, Michael Kunzler, joining us live here on Right Side. Thank you again, sir, for your time, and thank you for your sponsorship.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right, good stuff there with All Family Pharmacy owner Michael Kunzler. Of course, always whenever we have various live coverage of a number of political events or just various commentary and interviews, always great to talk about All Family Pharmacy, because at the end of the day, having simple, safe, secure ways to get medications, you got it there with the American Independent Pharmacy, All Family Pharmacy. All right, let's do this. We're going to go to a couple of our other sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's pull one up there as we see Kalshi.com/RSBN. Of course, there's a lot of different ways to, let's say, bet, trade, or just check out polls, right? You can go to the QR code. You can download the app if you want, or just go to Kalshi.com/RSBN. So 3 ways to get to this group. Now, this group is growing in popularity, more than 1 million users online, and a number of political trending topics, including the mayoral race out there in Los Angeles. We have a few LA videos to show you here from one of the candidates there in just a second. But outside of that, if you're into sports or talking about the weather or faith or science, technology, music, movies, whatever really. I was just talking to my wife yesterday about Dune 3. That's coming out in December. I know it's several months from now. But anyway, whatever your interest is, it's on there pretty much. Kalshi.com/RSBN, great sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's also go to Cove Pure, a great sponsor here as well. You've heard us talk about Cove Pure before, and if the water scares in Flint, Michigan, and East Palestine, Ohio weren't enough to get you to make the switch, well, this might. More than 176 million Americans are drinking tap water with PFAs in it. They're man-made chemicals used in food packaging, non-stick cookware, firefighting foam. Well, scientists call them forever chemicals because once they're in your body, they stay there. They don't break down, and they're linked to hormone disruption, immune damage, and increased cancer risk. But this is the part that's making some people upset out there, because the EPA set legal limits for PFAS back in 2024 for drinking water, but the water systems throughout the country have until 2031 to comply. Of course, that's a whole 5 years from now, and until that deadline arrives, the utility can be operating above the legal limit right now, and they're not required to notify you. So you're just drinking that tap water with that horrible aftertaste. That's why every single household needs Cove Pure. The government knows these chemicals are harmful enough to regulate, they're just not making anyone act on it quite yet. Now, recently, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, who we'll be seeing with the president here at 11 a.m., recently Zeldin announced a $1 billion grant for smaller communities to get rid of forever chemicals out of their water. So who knows if that's something that will come up during this announcement, and maybe the announcement will be all about this, who knows. But in the meantime, if you want clean, healthy water right now, you're going to have to do it yourself. And Cove Pure was engineered exactly for this. Unlike the normal pitcher filters that you see at the store, Cove Pure's Clearwave reverse osmosis technology is actually certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants. So those forever chemicals, right, the PFAs, heavy metals, fluoride, pharmaceuticals, this filtration system filters particles hundreds of thousands of times smaller than a single human hair. And then the best part about it is to make this so easy, it sits right on your countertop. You don't have to drill any holes or call someone in to install it. You just plug it in, and you can even get whatever temperature water you want, hot, cold, or warm, with a tap of a button. Don't wait till 2031. Take control of your water quality right now. Head to covepure.com/RSBN. And because you're a viewer of this broadcast, you'll get $250 off right now. That's covepure.com/RSBN. Thanks so much for live streaming in. It's 10:27 a.m. right now here on Right Side. And let's go to a Purple Heart recipient and founder of vetclaims.ai, Lucas Siminer. Thank you, sir, for joining us here on Right Side.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. First of all, thank you for your service to this country. Can you talk to us about your military service as we are about to celebrate 250 years for our great country? And then you also joined the military after 9/11, right?
Correct. Yeah. It's, taking a big look at it now that, now that I'm a bit older. I joined at 17. Watching 9/11 happen when I was in, I believe, 5th grade. To me, it just, something happened when I watched that shock and awe campaign in Iraq, and I felt that this was my generation's war, right? And maybe that's exactly what I was supposed to be feeling about it. But my grandma and grandpa served. My family beyond that had always served, and to me, that was my calling. And so, joined at 17. Went through basic at Fort Knox. Graduated airborne school still at 17, and got to the 82nd Airborne Division while I was still 17. Deployed at 18 and was wounded in Afghanistan at 19. And I was out of the Army before I was 21, which left me in quite a place.
Wow, that's quite the story. I mean, what was that like for you in your latter ages of being a teenager to go to war? I mean, what was it like for you? Were you prepared for that?
Yes, I mean, we were very prepared. We were very good at what we did. Had a great team, a great unit. But I think the hard part is, right, and what no one really talks about when it comes to our veterans, right, is the Army, the military, whatever branch will invest hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, in training you how to be a warfighter. But the program for when you get out to go be a normal human again is maybe a week and a half long. And that transition, especially when, someone like me joined at 17, out before 21, you really don't have even a grasp. You don't have your bearing. You don't have job skills. I was qualified to carry a machine gun and clean toilets, and that doesn't translate well. And it leads to a lot of problems in the transition space.
So then now being the founder of vetclaims.ai, we'll talk about that in a second. I still want to hear about this situation if you'd like to share with us. I mean, you're a recipient of the Purple Heart. I mean, that is something that, of course, is a major thing there. Can you talk to us about what happened?
I tend to not like to get into the story itself too much, but what I do say is that I was a bit too slow moving, and so it might have been a little easy for them to find me. When it comes to the Purple Heart, it's an honor to be able to serve my country and made sacrifices for the American dream I believe in. But as Memorial Day comes up, I always just think back to the ones that don't get to come home, and that's exactly why I live the way that I live. Is I always hope that I'm doing something that gives the guys up there a show worth watching.
Wow, that's powerful stuff. As we are about to honor those that have fallen for Memorial Day, and of course Arlington National Cemetery, an event I believe coming up this weekend as well. Can you talk to us finally about vetclaims.ai? So you founded this out of what you've experienced, and tell us more about that.
Well, in Afghanistan, we took 3 losses to combat. But in the time since I've been home, over 12 of the people that I was close with have taken their own lives, lost the battle at home to PTSD. And a lot of that, the fastest way to address it that I could ever think of is getting veterans to a place of stability, right? There's a big misconception out there that when veterans get out, they've got all these benefits. It's easy to access them. And that's, to a degree, it's true. You can use the GI Bill to go to college, but if you don't have the financial stability to go to college, right, it doesn't really matter. And so my effort to get veterans to stability fastest so they can start to take bets on themselves was helping them navigate the VA claim process without having lawyers or attorneys take 20 to 30% of the money that they had earned. And that was the status quo until I arrived here and built this. And in not roughly 19 months that we've been going, we've now created 360 veteran jobs, helped over 50,000 veterans navigate the VA claim process, and are actively in the works to hopefully be the new front end of what modernizes veteran care.
It's great to see various groups out there, including with Doug Collins, the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, people that are having our veterans in mind, outside of, we say thank you for your service, but what else can we do? And thank you for doing what you're doing. VetClaims.ai founder Lucas Simoner, and thank you again for your service to this nation, a Purple Heart recipient. God bless you, sir.
Thank you.
Awesome to speak with Lucas there, another patriot on Right Side Broadcasting Network. This is what it's all about, right? It's fighting for our freedom, but also, when I think about it from the perspective of the media or what we do as citizens across this country, of course, we vote, we speak up, we pray, we work hard, and we fight for our freedom legally, lawfully, and spiritually. I mean, what else can we do as citizens here, right? So, but anyway, great to speak with Lucas there. All right, let's go to a couple of our sponsors as we have more live interviews coming up. And of course, President Trump, we'll see him coming up at about 11 o'clock Eastern time. MyPillow.com is one of our longtime great sponsors, of course. MyPillow.com/RSBN. So that warehouse moving sale still ongoing. You can save up to 80% on so many great products. Go to MyPillow.com/RSBN. Check them out. And of course, supporting a conservative business, supporting Mike Lindell, supporting all of that crew there in Minnesota, the great people that work at MyPillow. It's not only supporting them and encouraging them by purchasing their goods. These are quality products. A number of you probably have MyPillow products. My family and I, we have plenty of them, right? So if you'd like to jump on board, if you haven't already, just go to MyPillow.com/RSBN. If you'd like to donate to Right Side, all you have to do is go to RSBNetwork.com/donate. RSBNetwork.com/donate as we continue to grow and expand here at Right Side, covering all sorts of live political events out there and gearing up, of course, for the huge 250th birthday for our great country. Joining us now is conservative host Eden Gordon Hill to talk with us about a Military Appreciation Month. And, Eden, we just had a great patriot on there. I'm not sure if you were able to hear the interview, but it's one of those things, man, when it comes to a Purple Heart, it's what can you say about it, right?
Speechless. He was amazing. Matthews, thank you so much for having me here this morning. I am in awe of the rededication that we had this weekend in our nation's capital. I'm in awe of our military and our Memorial Day services that are coming up. And, Matthew, as we sit here and just remember, we need to rededicate. We need to rededicate our military. We need to rededicate our veterans. We need to rededicate our families, our children in this nation for our next generation. And seeing what Secretary Pete Hegseth said on Sunday at the rededication ceremony, really talking about General Washington and the founding fathers to this nation, really reemphasizes the Military Appreciation Month that we've had this month of May, but also reemphasizes as we head into June and the founding fathers to this nation and our Father's Day and the legacy of those who have served. I see a book. Are you going to hold up a book? Show me the book, Matthew. Yes.
and you were just talking about General George Washington. He says,
yes.
David McCullough, of course, Pulitzer Prize winning author there, He quoted General George Washington saying, "Perseverance and spirit have done wonders in all ages." Perseverance and spirit have done wonders. And it's kind of like what President Trump said at the Coast Guard commencement yesterday. He always talks about a few things, to encourage the people there. And he said, never, ever give up. I mean, it's something that's simple, but it's so true. Keep going no matter what.
Right, absolutely. I also want to highlight something else. So we're talking about General Washington. We're talking about our founding fathers. We're talking about military appreciation. We're talking about America 250. So many things to be excited about in this country. And I heard a radio host say this morning that this country is flipped upside down. Well, what can we do to flip it back to what it inspires a new generation? What inspires that young man like Lucas to go serve? You heard his story post 9/11. It was running into the fire. How many people do we see in military appreciation, especially this month? How many people do we see running into the fire? Well, we saw Secretary Pete Hegseth running into the fire when that another attempted assassin happened on Trump just a month ago or less. I saw my husband run into the fire when we were at a church service and bullets were flying outside the church. I see men like that and also women like that who are ready to get up and serve. So what can we do to flip this country back around? It is that selfless service, that's an understanding and that reigniting of patriotism in our communities. And it starts in our families, Matthew. You being a young father, you know what it is to sit down your daughters and your family and really engage and have those powerful conversations of God, country, and family. And it's really reigniting that and bringing that back to the forefront. I wanted to highlight something as we head into Memorial Day, which is just a couple days away. Matthew, you know that so many people get Memorial Day and Veterans Day confused. And Memorial Day is really, okay, let's honor those who fought in war, but who never made it home. And I want to send out a message to our veterans, and here's why. That veteran that you just heard, I applaud him, and he is right. That transition time of serving and then going into civilian life, you have a very small window. And also think about the Memorial Day aspect. Many of those did not come home. And so you have an empty seat at the table, but you also have that veteran suicide increase. You have less than 90 days to capture our veterans before something could happen. They turn to alcohol, they turn to suicide. So my point in saying that is, with Memorial Day being right around the corner, we want to remember not the beaches that we're going to go sunbathe this Monday, but the beaches of Normandy. We want to remember those who did not make it home. We want to remember those who really, at the end of the day, did come home and are saying, why did I have to come home? I now have survivor's guilt. And so I want to highlight, Matthew, especially with what Lucas is doing. 988 hotline is there for veterans. It is there for them, especially Memorial Day. Years ago, I worked with a combat veteran who was an EOD specialist who came out of Afghanistan with no legs. I will never forget that Memorial Day. He couldn't get through it.
Lucas was saying that exactly, saying the people that his buddies that died in Afghanistan, he was saying, I'm going to be down here and I'm going to do this for them, put on a show for them. And he's doing what he can through his organization.
Exactly.
And then your husband also serves in the military. So we've said thank you to him, of course, through you for his service. But then you told me a story in passing just now and told us that are watching live or on replay that there was a situation outside of a church with bullets flying. So you're saying, tell us about that story too. What happened there?
Sure. So our reality in the life and this culture that we live in, we are not going to get away from violence. We are not going to get away from the fact that there are so many different things that are happening in our nation's backyard. And we were attending our mass at a local church service right around the corner, and we heard gunshots. And out of that whole service, and living in a veteran community, it was a smaller service. My husband literally just got up and ran into the fire to say, okay, we need to protect the church. We need to lock it down. And we need to think about how this could continue to happen. We see so many church shootings around this nation. And churches are not prepared. I think in many ways they become very complacent. And when we're sitting in a place of complacency, it opens up a lot more opportunity for our temples, for our churches, or all our churches around the nation to have some kind of attack where we're not prepared. And so another program I want to just highlight for you is a veteran ministry initiative that National Religious Broadcasters started last year. They are bridging the gap, similar to what Lucas mentioned, when it comes to getting our veterans more acclimated back into church, and the church recognizing the talent and the gifts that these veterans have as they are attending the church, to be more protected, more vigilant, and more understanding of when veterans come to church, the assets that they bring to protecting the church from things like my husband and I experienced. So as we're heading into Memorial Day, a couple of thoughts, just want to reiterate. And Matthew, thank you for covering for me as I get very emotional when I talk about this stuff. I am grateful that you, just allowed me to be very vulnerable with your audience. But 988 is the place for our veterans. 988 is where they need to go. And if they don't pick up 988 and they feel like there's somebody that they can call, we need to let them know that we are here to talk with them. We are here to listen to them. And I'm going to say to all those veterans who are tuning in, don't you dare isolate yourself, because I will find you and I will kick you in the tuchus like I've kicked my husband's many times to say, don't you dare isolate. You need to engage. You need to come back to faith. And more than ever before, we as a nation of God need to be back on our knees praying for these services around the nation for protection. But we also need to be praying for our veterans as they go through these holidays with a guilt syndrome, saying, why am I still here? I want to recognize that.
Exactly, and it's great that you did. And also on top of that, outside of prayer and spirituality and a connection to Jesus, God, your faith, which is obviously number one and most powerful, mental health and therapy, and if needed, in some cases, medication. The therapy aspect, the meditation, the inner world kind of just breathing, whatever it is, this needs to happen not only for military veterans that need it or want it, but I think the people as a whole. How do you go through life and not pray or meditate or just kind of, you know what I mean? Because everybody deals with certain kinds of traumas out there and all kinds of things. And so I think that a lot of times, sometimes we focus only on prayer, or we focus only on therapy. How about both? It's not a bad thing, is it?
No, it isn't. Yesterday on my show, I had this powerful author come over to my show, and you can listen to it on pray.com. And it's a brand new best-selling book. But Matthew, let me just tell you her story really quickly. She was in the psych ward, and God completely saved her. And what she talks about, as May is Mental Health Awareness Month, she talks about bringing the two together, the health component, the mental health component, and also the faith component. And she also says, if you don't have a faith, let me help you, let me guide you, and let me be a support system to you. It is a very powerful book. And we talked about the military aspect because that is happening as active duty readiness is happening. You have it in our veterans. You have it in our children from the COVID generation. You have it literally in your next door neighbor who's struggling with things they cannot talk about. And yet we go put on a happy face. And the author that was on yesterday, she said, Eden, I was on a cliff ready to jump. And then I turned around and went back into a writer's conference and pasted on my smile on my face, thinking everything was okay. How many other people are going through that right now?
Exactly. And finally, just a closing statement, I guess, for the interview here. And thanks for sticking with us here for this long of an interview. But the point is, when it comes down to things that really help people or encourage people, I like to stay on that topic for a second because it's a good thing, right? And I know we're a political news network and all that, but we're not the mainstream. We're not going to do the fake news thing. But all that to say, and I don't know how many people will catch this, what I'm about to say, but sometimes things have to be caught, not taught. So here we go. This is going to sound strange, there are two nostrils, there are two eyes, there are two ears, two hands, right? There's two shoulders, two kneecaps, 2 feet, right? It's the same thing, I think, when it comes to spirituality and your mental health, when it comes to therapy and all those kind of things. There's two things going on there. It's not just prayer. It's not just therapy. It's two. And the number two, always a good number two. Anyway, so your thoughts about just what I said there.
No, two are better than one.
Yeah.
Two are better than one. And, when two or more are gathered
That's
in
true.
prayer,
That's true.
there's power. There's
Yeah.
power. Matthew, I'm not going to say Happy Memorial Day. I'm going to say let's remember, let's honor. But I want to wish everybody in your audience a very blessed weekend. And I also would just want to say, encourage them to go to 988.
Amen. Conservative host Eden Gordon Hill, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you, Matthew. God bless you.
God bless you. You never know where a conversation will go, but that's what I kind of like about this process in the news media, because really we don't have scripts to stick to something like that or this. Maybe a woke producer or somebody saying, well, you can't talk about that. Well, this is what you'll get here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. On top of that, in conservative media as a whole, it's really great to see that this is a solution to the fake news media out there, lying to us for years, acting like it's the truth, playing TV, and pulling the wool over your eyes while they're doing it. Not anymore, and I'm preaching to the choir because I know most of you here. Thanks again for watching on Right Side. All right, so in about 13 minutes, we'll see the president. Of course, he'll be met with the EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin. There'll be an announcement from the White House. We'll bring you to that as soon as we see that live feed. In the meantime, let's go to a couple of our sponsors here. We have a number of other live interviews to get to, but let's go to All Family Pharmacy right now as we interviewed the owner of All Family Pharmacy, Michael Kunzler, earlier. And when it comes to healthcare, people are looking for something simple: access, control, and peace of mind. And right now, that's not always easy to get. You've probably experienced it: long wait times, packed waiting rooms, dealing with insurance, and still not getting what you need when you need it. That's why more Americans are turning to All Family Pharmacy. They've built a system that's simple, safe, and secure. It's simple because you go online, you choose what you need, and you fill out a short medical form. It's safe. A licensed doctor reviews your request and prescribes if appropriate. And it's secure. Your information and transactions are protected from start to finish. They offer access to more than 400 prescription medications, from everyday maintenance meds to antibiotics or antivirals, ivermectin, mebendazole, NAD+, and more, all shipped directly to your door. No confusion, no delays, just a better way to get what you need. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN 10 promo code. You'll get 10% off at checkout. Great American independent pharmacy right there, All Family Pharmacy. Let's go to Birch Gold Group as well. When there are supply constraints on commodities, prices surge. It's cause and effect, right? You saw it with the fuel prices when the Strait of Hormuz was blockaded. And you know what else is a limited commodity? Gold. They mine it out of the ground, and when it's gone, it's gone. Governments can't just print more of it, and that's why everyone from central banks to savvy savers are diversified with gold. So if you've been thinking about it for years, but have still never moved some of your savings into physical gold, Birch Gold Group is who we trust to help you. Now through May 29th, Birch Gold is giving first-time gold buyers a rebate of up to $10,000 on qualifying purchases. For details and a free information kit on diversifying into gold, just text Trump to that number, 989898, that you see on your screen there. Birch Gold can actually help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Text Trump to the number 989898 to see if you qualify for a first-time gold buyer rebate, again, of up to $10,000. Text Trump to 989898. All right, let's do this. Let's take a quick commercial break. This is RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We will be right back.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
A historian and author of the new book, The Constitution of 1789, A New Introduction. And Elon, I saw on X, you posting about it as well. I mean, how proud are you of this new book?
Well, I'm very excited and very proud about the book, and thank you for having me on to talk about it. I've been writing the book for 8 or 9 years, really for the benefit of students, college students, law students, but really everybody who's never set eyes on a conservative argument about the Constitution, about the original meaning of the Constitution. Why do we have written constitutions? Why did we fight the American Revolution? What is legislative power? What is executive power? What is judicial power? And foreign affairs and war, these are topics that you cover on your network a lot today. What does the original meaning of the Constitution say about these things? I'm just so excited to create this sort of accessible introduction to lay readers, students, and your audience and other audiences as well. So I'm very excited and proud of the book.
So let's talk about maybe a constitutional conservative. I mean, isn't that what the founding fathers were? And is that not what the majority of the country is? People that say the Constitution, independence, freedom, all the things, right?
So conservatism, what are we conserving exactly, right? Conservatism, in a sense, is an empty vessel. In America, I think we're conserving the principles of the American founding. And those principles were, as you said, personal responsibility, individual liberty, limited government. So I think as constitutional conservatives, the first thing we could do as a first cut, not as a complete cut, is to be originalists, to support the original meaning of the Constitution, because that is the best way to sort of conserve what the framers were trying to do. Continue appointing judges the way President Trump has been doing. He's been doing a great job on judges, whatever other people say about this. I know some people attack him for this. He has been appointing really solidly conservative originalist judges. So I think constitutional conservatives should support that. I will say the Constitution also, another reason why I wrote this book, the Constitution isn't self-enforcing in a way. It depends on we the people continuing to venerate it and believe it. And that is another reason why I wrote this book, because I admire the Constitution. And I think if people just understood more the original meaning of the Constitution and what the framers were intending to accomplish, they would be awestruck as well. They would be inspired as well. So on the America 250 celebrations, again, a constitutional conservative, it's really important to read about the foundations of American constitutionalism. And that's what I try to do with this book.
It's awesome to see it. And we're talking about the genesis or the beginning or the start of or the inception of, and then you see the fruits of the labor of, and that's the original Constitution. How did we get the 200, almost 50 years of the freedom we have? It's because, to your point, it was people that said we have to stick to this thing. But now, we see another side of the country, though, that isn't very respectful of the great, in my opinion, living law of this great country, the Constitution of the United States of America.
I think that's absolutely true. And I don't want to get too into metaphysics and morality here, but I do think it's important to point out that a constitutional republic requires certain preconditions. One of it is a moral people. George Washington in the Farewell Address, John Adams, they said the Constitution was made for a moral and religious people. Maybe you could put religious aside for now, but at least a moral people. And it requires independence from the state. You see Ted Cruz fighting with Tim Kaine about this. Where do our rights come from? Do they come from government or do they come from God? So it requires a moral people and it requires independence from the state. Well, I hate to say it, but if you look, there's one side of the political spectrum today, especially, that tries to undermine these pillars. They try to undermine the family, right? And so if we want to strengthen the morality of the citizenry and independence from the state, well, it starts with the family. It starts with strong family units. Where are children morally brought up is in the family, right? Family is a unit of privacy, of interdependence that is independent of the state, and they're trying to undermine the family in various ways. The welfare state, the massive, tremendous growth in the welfare state, that undermines independence from the state. Well, if you are dependent on the state, then you're going to be dependent on the state for a lot of things, including maybe your rights and your liberties. So there are lots of things, to go back to your early question, that a constitutional conservative can do to support sort of the underpinnings of constitutional republicanism, which is strengthening the family, strengthening property rights and independence from the state. And so there is one side of the political spectrum that is trying to undermine those things. And again, my book is one attempt, my little part of the effort, I guess, to combat that and to, I guess, restore this understanding and appreciation and veneration for these and the importance of constitutional principles and constitutional government.
Again, this is Elon Werman. He is a historian and author of the new book, The Constitution of 1789, a new introduction. Before I let you go, just a little bit of a 24/7 news cycle question for you. Your thoughts about the Save America Act?
Yeah, look, there are lots of things that constitutional conservatives can work on that aren't just the written Constitution, right? The constitutionalism is more than just the written document. So there are constitutional principles, like, for example, you shouldn't pack the Supreme Court just because they disagree with you on particular issues, right? Maybe there isn't something in the text of the Constitution that says you can't do that, but I think that's like a small c constitutional principle we can get behind. Another thing is elections. A constitutional republic depends on integrity and faith in elections. Whatever you think about how much fraud there is or isn't, can we agree that faith in elections is important, that having integrity in elections is important? And so there are things that constitutional conservatives can push for, including things like the Save America Act, that I do think would be helpful in restoring that, again, admiration, respect, that faith in this wonderful American experiment, 250 years since the fighting of the American Revolution.
So I assume we can get your book on Amazon and other places, right? The Constitution of 1789, A New Introduction, correct?
That's correct. You can get it on Amazon, Cambridge, University Press, anywhere. It should be out tomorrow, but if it's not out tomorrow, then it'll be out soon thereafter.
Awesome. Elon Werman, historian and author. Thanks again for your insight. Thanks for what you're doing for the Constitution, indirectly for we the people as well.
Thanks for having me.
Definitely. Awesome stuff there, as it's just about 1 minute after the top of the hour, 11:02 actually right now, as we get ready to go to the White House as soon as we see a live feed. Why don't we do this? Why don't we take a quick commercial break? We'll be right back here on Right Side.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
an advocate. Thank you so much, Karen, for joining us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Thank you for allowing me to.
Definitely, definitely. Let's talk about, we've got the 250 anniversary coming up. Your thoughts about that as you are out there being an advocate for military veterans and for those that have fallen. I know we'll talk about your son here in a second, but so can you talk to us about the 250th, what that means to you and your family?
Yeah, I mean, how exceptional is America, right? For 250 years, we've stood. While other nations have failed, governments have crumbled, borders have been shifted, but America has stood. And that's only because of the brave men and women who continue generation after generation, putting their names on that dotted line, willing to die if needed to preserve the American way of life. I, for one, love America, make no apologies about that. My son loved America, and that's why he did what he did, and that's why I'm still doing what I'm doing.
Amen to that. And that's what the majority of the country of we the people. Let's talk about that quickly. The media acts like, there's so many people that are on the wrong side of history out there. The massive majority of this country are people like you and me that say we love God, family, and country, right?
Absolutely. I see it everywhere I go. Aaron has been gone for 15 years now. And I have been surrounded by so much love and compassion and generosity by this nation because we are a nation of people who do respect sacrifice and service. And we've seen that reflected. People look around and they say, oh, America is so bad. Our best days are behind her. And I just say, if you ever feel that way, do two things. Turn off the news for a while and get off social media for a while. And you'll see, if you're standing in line beside somebody at a grocery store, if you're at a ball game cheering for the same team, you're not seeing the America that we're told constantly to hate. You're seeing the actual America of, just like you said, just people like you and me who love this country, who celebrate the freedoms we have here, and who are honored that this is a nation we get to live in.
It's so powerful. It's a great point. They're not, the TV cameras from the mainstream media aren't at that local baseball game usually. You know what I mean? It's and just the everyday things that we have here in this country. So it's just interesting that they keep trying to spin it. But a lot of our audience is already aware of all of that, but they might not be aware specifically of the story of your son, Navy SEAL. First of all, let's talk about that. I mean, Aaron Carson Vaughn, a Navy SEAL. How difficult was that for him to achieve being a Navy SEAL, or did it actually come easy to him?
Actually, it was a remarkable miracle that he was able to do it. From the time Aaron was a little boy, he dreamed of nothing else but being a SEAL. And I know we have limited time, so I'll make this story very quick. He blew out his ACL playing football his senior year of high school and was told after the second time he blew it out, not once, had it repaired, but blew it out again. And after the second time, he was told he would never do anything physical again without the use of a special brace. And so he thought his dreams of being a SEAL were over. And he went on and went to college, got a degree, started a different career, and then 9/11 happened. And he came home for dinner with us on his birthday, his 21st birthday, and he sat down across the table from his father and I, and he said, Mom and Dad, I joined the SEAL Challenge program today, and I leave in November. And we were dumbfounded. His father said, what about your knee? And of course, anybody who's had that surgery and knows that it's failed, Aaron had no ligaments in his left knee and became a Navy SEAL and went all the way to SEAL Team 6 without anyone ever knowing that. That's just a God story. That's all it is. He knew what he was created to be. He knew what he was created to do. And that's why we've never, been able to grieve his death in ways that maybe some people do, because we know he died doing exactly what he was created to do. There was no explanation for him being able to do it other than that. And by the way, every single time he served for 9 years, deployed multiple times. I think he died on his 5th combat deployment, hundreds and hundreds of missions. And every time that boy would sit down with me, on a post-deployment retreat, he would say some form of this sentence, Mom, I can't believe I get to do this. That's the way he felt about serving this nation. And so just know as you celebrate this Memorial Day that men like Aaron Vaughn walked this earth, and they gave up their tomorrows for our todays.
It's so powerful to hear. It's so powerful to think that, he was doing that for our freedoms, for the people of this country, for himself and for his family as well out there. Let's go back to, he's a SEAL. He's out there in the Middle East. What was it like for you back here in the States, while your son's out there? I mean, it must have been a very prayerful time for you as well.
It's kind of interesting because the first few times that he went, it was very stressful. We, shed a lot of tears. We did a lot of praying as a family, and then it kind of became routine, right? Because these guys just went back and back and back for more, right? And so it kind of became routine. And on the deployment where he actually died, I couldn't have imagined. We were going to have a family reunion that November. We were all meeting back on the farm we raised him on in Tennessee, and everyone was getting together to celebrate what might have been his final deployment because his second child had just been born, a little girl. She was only 9 weeks old the day he died. And so we thought maybe he'd be, rounding this up and thinking about getting out. And so it was the furthest thing from my mind. And on August 6th, you couldn't have found a person more stunned than I was to hear that he was gone. It was an unfathomable morning. It's been an unfathomable 15 years. And, we fight and we love and we pray and we care for each other in a way that's more intense probably than a lot of people do because we've seen what it looks like to have real loss. But we are proud of Aaron. We're proud of what he did. And I would have never tried to talk him out of it, even if I knew the outcome. I would have never stopped him from living that dream. He literally lived a dream and lived more life in 30 years than most of us live in 90.
That's so powerful. If you're just joining us, this is Karen Vaughn, a Gold Star mother. Thank you again for spending the time with us. How are you able to continue to talk about this story, though, too? What's driving you to be able to have that ability? Because usually it's a healing process. You gotta move on, but you still remember your son, but you keep talking about it. What drives you to do that?
So it's easy for me. I love this country. I want to make sure his sacrifice was worth it. I want to make sure people remember what's been given on their behalf. Those of us blessed enough to have been raised in the United States of America have never known a world without freedom. We take it for granted. We just don't understand how precious it is and how rare it is that it is not humanity's default. It's not. Freedom isn't normal. And so it just became my mission. Aaron fought for America kinetically, and I wanted to fight for it culturally. So I just got up off my couch and I decided that's what I would do. And, Ronald Reagan told us, you and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We can preserve this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we can sentence the next generation to take the first step into 1,000 years of darkness. And I knew that wasn't going to happen on my watch. I was not going to let Aaron down like that. So that's what got me off the couch. That and my faith in God and knowing that Aaron was a believer and that, I'll be with him again one day and we'll celebrate big when that day comes.
Yeah, we will, definitely. And if somebody goes to officialkarenvaughn.com, what will they see once they go to that website?
They're going to see a couple videos. What I'd love to tell you about the most is what our family did after Aaron's death. We started a nonprofit called Operation 300. If you go to op300.org, you'll see what we did. We started adventure camps for children whose fathers died during the 20-year war on terror. We've reached out now and we're serving also families of fallen law enforcement officers. And so we pair these kids up with a father-age male mentor and let them spend a weekend doing things they would have done with their dad. They learn to shoot. They go deep sea fishing. They go surfing. They do all the fun things that dad would have taught them to do. And, we're 14 years down the road now with this, and it's just becoming major, massive nonprofit, and we could not be more proud of what we did in Aaron's name.
Can we have that website one more time, please?
Yeah, absolutely. It's op300.org, and just Google Operation 300. You'll find it.
Karen Vaughn, thank you so much for what you're doing for this country. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow, 11:15 Thursday, May 21st. Speaking with a Gold Star mother right there, live on Right Side right now. You think about all of the things that people go through just for our freedoms. Memorial Day coming up, so of course we'll have some coverage as well on Sunday here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to a couple of our sponsors in the meantime. Actually, before we go to some sponsors, let's just take a commercial break. We'll be right back here on Right Side.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Riley, let's go to him. He joins us now. Thank you so much, sir, for your service to this country. And let's talk about how important is our nation's 250th to you, sir.
Well, it's a tremendous honor to be part of Freedom 250 and celebrating America's 250th anniversary. This is tremendously important to me. I have young kids, and congratulations on yours. So it's tremendously important for me to help spread the word, the message, and the reminder that this is a once-in-a-generation type of event celebrating our 250th, and it's super special and important to pass this along to your kids. Show them that you are allowed to be patriotic, allowed to love your country, and you have the right to wave that flag and be a proud American. So this means the world to me. I know you had a Gold Star mother on just before. I work with Gold Star families daily. And having a flag draped over a coffin, the symbology, the symbolism of that is just tremendous. So when people don't understand the love of country and why this 250th anniversary is so special, it just kind of really upsets me.
No, that makes total sense. I mean, the majority of the country stands with, obviously, our U.S. Armed Forces and, honors Memorial Day and Veterans Day and people like yourself, sir. I mean, you're a retired Navy SEAL. You're a rock star. You know what I mean? And I think we, the people, are rock stars as well, right? You were fighting for us, and it's a family thing we got going on here in this country. But let's talk about, before we get to some of your service and how you became a SEAL, let's talk about you being the executive director at the Lieutenant Michael P. Murphy Navy SEAL Museum, guiding that mission to honor and educate about Naval Special Warfare Command's special operator there. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Well, if anybody told me that I would be running a museum maybe 5 years ago, I would have laughed. It was definitely not in my plans. But what happened was God intervened and got put me in this position, and it's been very therapeutic, healing, and rewarding to say the least. So, being the executive director at the Michael Murphy Navy SEAL Museum in New York, I get to tell the history of naval special warfare from 1942 to present day. I get to speak about all of our fallen. We have 318 faces on the wall right now that were either killed in action or killed in training. I get to tell the stories. I get to educate, inspire, all of our visitors. So it's a very big responsibility that I take it very seriously, and again, it's very healing and therapeutic to myself. So I enjoy coming to work. I enjoy meeting all the new people, and hopefully getting through to some of our youth that selflessness, sacrifice, and service are very, very important to keep our nation free.
Exactly. And so if people would be signing up for the military, as the president says that the recruiting numbers are up. And if someone is not signing up for the military, the other day here in Alabama was the primary, right? So I went in there, voted in person, always good to do that. And it was during, maybe school hours. So I saw maybe 55 and older, there at the voting polls. I didn't see very many, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. How important is that too, as well, to just tell them, hey guys, this is part of your fight for freedom, is to get out and vote?
Well, I don't think they understand that, the civic duty of casting your vote. A lot of our youth, they're kind of caught up in social media and things that are very quick and in and out of their attention span. So I don't know if they understand how important their singular vote means in an election. So it's definitely important. I don't know if it's being passed down. We've been talking about oral history and the 250th. It has to come from your parents, your grandparents. All of this stuff has to continue being passed down, with honor and traditions. I remember going to the polling booths with my parents and going in with the curtain and the big switches, and then you had to pull the lever. It was totally different than it is today, but it was a special event. It was something that was important that we took time out of our day to go do as a family. And I remember it to this day. So I'm hoping that people will understand that, as a parent, it's your duty to try to inform your kids and to show them that, voting, as much as you think you're one person in a sea of millions, it does matter, it does count, and it's super important.
Before we get to your service as a SEAL, your thoughts about the Save America Act and, voter ID and proof of citizenship. It should be a slam dunk, right?
Yes, it's kind of frustrating for myself. I don't consider myself, tremendously into politics. I try to, get along with everybody, but I definitely consider myself a true American and a patriot. So to not be able to pass this SAVE Act is very frustrating to me as a citizen. It is a very simple idea. You can't go to another country and vote in their elections. There's so many things that you can't do all over the world that we allow in the United States. And granted, it gets, kind of lumped together as, a freedom or a right or things like that. People are able to twist these terms, let's use that, into an argument. It should be very cut and dry, black and white here. You can't buy cigarettes without an ID. You can't get a plane ticket without an ID. So it's not very shocking to be required to have an ID.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens there with the Save America Act on Capitol Hill. Hopefully they get momentum back into this thing and get it passed. I don't know if it's going to happen, but still, hearing from someone like yourself, former Navy SEAL, retired Navy SEAL, to say what you said is powerful stuff. And to that point, let's talk about what it was like to be. How'd you do it? Let's be honest. How did you do it, and how'd you not go and ring that bell?
I just believed I had something to prove to myself. I try to explain to people that you can't point or look at somebody and say, hey, you would look like a good Navy SEAL. Because if it's not coming from somewhere deep within you, those people might say, oh, yeah, okay, that sounds like a good idea, and go try. But they would not have any, true desire to allow yourself to go through such I don't know. I really don't have a better word for it, torture. So, to put yourself through something like that, a test that, we've pretty much only had about 15 or 16,000 SEALs ever in 84 years.
Wow.
It is a tremendously low figure. So to be able to put yourself through those tests and Hell Week and come out the other side, it is a tremendous accomplishment for myself, and I'm very proud of it. That's why we have this brotherhood, and really, sometimes I'm shocked about it. I'm working at the museum, I forget that I did it, and then I walk past something and I went, oh wow, I remember that. That really stunk.
That's awesome. Can you share with? I'm asking for myself, but also for the people that are watching. Is there a word of encouragement or something that you learned during that Hell Week or during just training or just being a SEAL that you can kind of share with advice on maybe is it just don't give up, keep going? Like, what is it?
It is similar to that. What I like to try to explain or relay to the youth that comes through these doors is that life is hard. Nobody owes you anything. So when you get out of high school, somebody's not going to walk up to you and give you a 6-figure job and all the benefits and all this money. So you're going to have to work really hard, and you're going to fail. Things are going to happen where you fall down. It's getting back up and trying again every single time to ultimately accomplish your goals. Life is not this easy road. You don't learn anything from constantly having success. So failure is a teaching tool. You shouldn't be embarrassed when you fail or stumble. But if you quit, you'll never get to where you want to go. You'll never be who you want to be. So it's just a choice. It's a mindset. It's a choice to remember that if you just don't quit, you will get to your goals. It just may take a little longer than you expected.
That's powerful words right there. Grand slam home run answer, man. Seriously, that's exactly what it's summed up perfectly. Christopher Wiley, retired Navy SEAL. Thanks again for your service, man. And thanks for what you're doing there in New York at the museum, the Michael P. Murphy Navy SEAL Museum. Is there a website that you could share with anybody interested?
Yes, it's www.murphsealmuseum.org.
Awesome. Thank you again for your service, sir.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Definitely. You're welcome. Awesome stuff there. Great to speak with a retired Navy SEAL right here live on Right Side Broadcasting Network as we await the White House live feed. Of course, if you're joining us for that, that'll be starting here hopefully soon. That was originally scheduled for 11 this morning. It's 30 minutes past that. And again, as I've mentioned before here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, sometimes we have to tap dance or sometimes we have to do some more commentary. And obviously, it's great to have these interviews with us live as well. All right, let's go to Kalshi.com/RSBN. You can download the app if you'd like. You can go to Kalshi.com/RSBN, or you can use that QR code that you see right there on your screen. A lot of different topics that people are betting, trading, and just checking out various polls on. And you can do the same. The LA mayoral race is a big one. Of course, the Texas Republican primary, which is in 5 days from now, May 26th. And a number of other topics that you can check out, Kalshi.com/RSBN. Let's go to CovePier.com as well, /RSBN. And you've heard us, talk about Cove Pier before, and if the water scares in Flint, Michigan, and East Palestine, Ohio weren't enough to get you to make the switch, well, this might, because more than 176 million Americans are drinking tap water with PFAs in it. They're that man-made chemical used in food packaging, nonstick cookware, firefighting foam. Scientists call them a forever chemical because once they're in your body, they stay there. They don't break down. And then they're linked to hormone disruption or immune damage and increased cancer risk. But this is the part that's making some people upset out there because the EPA set legal limits back in 2024, but water systems around the country have until 2031 to comply. So that's a whole 5 years from now. And until that deadline arrives, the utility can be operating above the legal limit right now and isn't required to notify you. So you're just drinking that tap water with that lovely aftertaste. That's why every single household needs Cove Pure. The government knows these chemicals are harmful enough to regulate. They're just not making anyone act on it quite yet. Now, recently, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, who we'll see here in just a few minutes with President Trump, Zeldin actually announced a $1 billion grant for smaller communities out there across our country to get rid of forever chemicals. But, you know, in the meantime, if you want clean, healthy water, you're going to have to do it yourself. Cove Pure was engineered exactly for this. Unlike those normal pitcher filters that you see at the store, their Clearwave reverse osmosis technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants. So there's PFAs, heavy metals, fluoride, pharmaceuticals, filtering particles hundreds of thousands of times smaller than a single human hair. The best part about Cove Pure, they make it so easy. It sits right on your countertop, as you see there on the screen. You don't have to drill any holes or call someone in to install it. You just plug it in, and you can even get whatever temperature water you want, hot, cold, or warm, with the tap of a button. So don't wait till 2031. Take control of your water quality right now. You can head to covepure.com/RSBN. And because you're a viewer of this broadcast, you got $250 off right now. covepure.com/RSBN. All right, we are live. This is RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. If you'd like to follow us on Truth Social, it's at RSBN. If you'd like to follow us on X, it's at RSB Network. All right, let's see. I think we have a number of other interviews coming up here in just a little bit, and it looks like we do. Frank Kelly III joins us right now. Sir, thank you so much for writing this book we're going to talk about here in just a second.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about America's loneliness epidemic is bigger than politics. So you wrote a book, Love and Go, this book that is all about the collapse of community in modern America and how we fix it. So first, before we get into that, what was the genesis of getting even to this point of writing that book?
Yeah, well, about 40 years ago, I had a spiritual awakening. I was a sophomore at Cornell University. About 6 months later, I was invited to a Bible study. I'd never really read or studied the Bible. And my eyes were open to some truths I had never learned or understood before. And over the last 40 years, I've been an avid note taker, and I kind of accumulated 40 years of notes and quotes from some of the best sermons and messages and books I've read, and put it into this book, Love and Go. And love is really the great commandment. And what does it mean to love God completely, others compassionately, yourself correctly, and then go and share God's love and truth in word and deed? And even listening to Christopher just a minute ago, a Navy SEAL, I think of these men and women who've loved their country and gone and served. You know, that applies to our faith and our life in many different ways.
You know what I really like about what you said there too is the part of loving yourself, because the Bible actually says that in the Great Commandment. It says to love the Lord God with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind, and your neighbor as yourself. So it's like God, yourself, people, all in one, right?
It's so true. And I really appreciate you pointing that out. You know, you can't really love your neighbor if you don't love yourself correctly. Love God compassionately, others correctly, and yourself correctly. So, you know, we need to see ourselves as God sees us. Many of us are harder on ourselves than anyone else would be on us. You know, sometimes I say, you may not want me to love you the way I love myself, because I'm so hard on myself. But when we see ourselves the way God sees us, created in his image, with unique, no one ever created like any one of us ever, you know, we can do that. And I think that better helps us share God's love with our neighbor as well.
Exactly. So let's talk about the loneliness epidemic that you're writing about in this book as well. I'm going to ask you straight up because I know you can take it. Was this something that you dealt with? I know I've dealt with this. I think a lot of people can deal with this. You're moving across the country, you're not married or whatever. It's not an easy thing to do. I remember talking to somebody that lived in New York City of 7-8 million people or whatever, and they're like, man, I just feel like nobody knows me here. You know, So can you talk to us about that?
Sure. Well, you know, I've got 12 chapters. Each one kind of stands on its own. The power of God's word, the Bible, the power of praise, the power of prayer, the power of the Holy Spirit. But one of my favorite chapters is about the power of relationships and community. And, you know, we are in a spiritual battle, and our enemy wants to divide and separate us. Just like, you know, a lion tracking down a pack of zebras, they're going to try to get that one weak zebra off to the side. There's a quote I love: we learn more in circles than rows. There's value in community. We need each other. God created us to function best in community. And it's often so easy to get disconnected and just want to go it on our own, or we maybe get in our own head, have a pity party. But there's such value in fellowship, and even the value of being a part of a local church community, even if you're in a big community, to be in a smaller community of men or women. And especially for men, a lot of men, maybe we don't want to open up and share at the deepest levels, but when we share our hearts and lives with others, it helps not only us, but those we connect with as well. So I think we need to be intentional about being in community.
How powerful is it, the late, great Charlie Kirk talking about get married, have kids. Is that not a powerful, right thing to do?
Awesome. Well, the first community God created, besides the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, it's a unique community, is the community of family. And there's no greater, human community than a father and mother and children. And we know some of the cultural headwinds that are telling people that that's not the way you want to go. But we know there's no greater gift than a spouse and a children. I know my wife and I are just blessed with our fourth grandson this week. And, there's a scripture too that talks about the importance of honoring your father and mother. And none of us have perfect fathers or mothers. We're coming up on Father's Day. We just finished Mother's Day. But there's a challenge in God's word for us to honor our father and mother as best we can. And part of that blessing is children in our lives as well.
Exactly. And let's talk about the individual specifically. We talked about this earlier today. It seems like today's a very spiritual, mental health type of day, which is totally fine. But the individual, especially if you're dealing with that loneliness aspect, the church groups, the friends and family, but also the inner work, the work on yourself, whether that's through meditation or reading books or therapy or medication, that kind of thing. Your thoughts about that as well as an important factor in dealing with that thing called loneliness. I mean, people have taken their lives over that.
Right. I mean, it's a real issue. I don't want to trivialize it in any way, but you referenced the great commandment, but the first part of the book, love and go, but love, again, love God completely, others compassionately, yourself correctly. God desires a love relationship with us. I knew first 20 years of my life, I had a little religion. I kind of had the spiritual pieces to the puzzle, but the distance between religion and relationship is 18 inches from your head to your heart. And God, through his son, Jesus Christ, wants to live in our hearts so we can have a right relationship with him that's personal, real, daily, every minute. Don't have to be in church to talk to God. And out of that relationship, I think it really blesses and strengthens other relationships. I think we need to be intentional, but we all get in places that are dark where we can't reach out. So we need to be sensitive to those around us who may need us to reach out to them. That's the go part. Like, we're called to go. And we sense something going on with a family member or a friend, make that call, write that note, make that invitation. I think we're all in it together. We need to help each other.
Exactly. And then pressing into your faith in God and not just saying that, with your heart, your soul, your mind, your body. You are just saying, God, I need you. You are perfect and holy and awesome. And we're in this fallen world down here. And that's what's great about his Holy Spirit that can be alongside you. And you can sense his presence in times where the Bible says God is an ever-present help in the time of need. And I'll let you have the last word here as we get ready to go to the White House.
Great. Well, thank you again. But, I mentioned these 12 chapters. If I had enough resource, I would have done each chapter as a separate book in one case. But one of my favorite chapters is about the power of the Holy Spirit. I grew up in a faith tradition, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. I believed in God, believed in Christmas and Easter. I had no idea who the Holy Spirit is. But the scriptures, and we're coming up on Pentecost Sunday, the last thing Jesus said is you're going to receive power when the Holy Spirit comes. And then you're going to be my witnesses, to Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, to the remotest parts of the earth. So God gives us the power to love and go through the Holy Spirit. So what I share in that chapter is worth the read. So if you get a chance, I'd recommend, check out Love and Go. You can get it at Amazon, or you can check out my website, frankkelly3rd.com. And Love and Go, 12 Powerful Truths for a Blessed Life. Thank you.
Awesome. Author Frank Kelly III. Thank you again for what you're doing out there for the people.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That's awesome. Awesome to hear someone speak about the Holy Spirit as well, specifically in that book. A lot of times we talk about God, which is great. We talk about Jesus, which is great. the Holy Spirit is also
Right.
the same, right?
That's
three
true.
and the 1 and 3, basically.
Yep. So Matt,
anyway,
what
it is 11:41. We can talk about faith all day here at Right Side, of course. I know a lot of you are believers out there, and if you're not a believer, at the end of the day, we're looking for freedom in our country. That is one of the main points of why we do what we do here at Right Side. You remember back in the day in 2015 with President Trump and all those speeches? The mainstream media, they weren't showing the full speech. They weren't showing the crowd. We wanted to show all of that and to give an opportunity to people to see what's going on. It's very simple stuff. And sometimes it's the simple things in life that have the greatest gains. And talk about simplicity. How about the salvation message? We can go there if we want, but it's simple stuff. And it confounds the wise. The people that are all like, that's too easy. You have to go through all this stuff. It's garbage. Anyway, 10:42 Central Time, 11:42 here on the East Coast. Getting ready to go to the White House there. Let's go to Birch Gold Group in the meantime. When there are supply constraints on commodities, prices surge. It's that cause and effect out there. You saw it with fuel prices when the Strait of Hormuz was blockaded. And we also know that gold is a limited commodity. They mine it out of the ground, of course, and when it's gone, it's gone. Governments can't just print more of it, and that's why everyone from central banks to savvy savers are diversified with gold. So if you've been thinking about it for years but have still never moved some of your savings into physical gold, Birch Gold Group is who we trust to help you. Now through May 29th, Birch Gold is giving first-time gold buyers a rebate of up to $10,000 on qualifying purchases. So for details and a free information kit on diversifying into gold, just text Trump to that number you see on your screen there, 989898. Birch Gold can actually help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. So just text that number, text that name actually, Trump to the number 989898. This is to see if you qualify for a first-time gold buyer rebate of up to $10,000. All right, it's 11:42, getting ready to go to the White House here in just a little bit. And we're going to go to a couple of videos, maybe. I don't know. If we hear that the White House is about to start, that we do have a video for a U.S. Navy Throwback Thursday, as the nation's 250th, of course, is around the corner. And then if we have time, Los Angeles Mayor Spencer Pratt, man, he and his team and others are posting these political ads using AI on X. Pretty cool to see a lot of that, really telling the story of what people in Los Angeles are dealing with. We'll see if he's able to pull that one out and win in the City of Angels, so we'll see. In the meantime, let's go to one more sponsor here, All Family Pharmacy. Specifically when it comes to healthcare, people are looking for something simple, access, control, and peace of mind. And right now, that's not always easy to get. You've probably experienced it, long wait times, packed waiting rooms, dealing with insurance, and still not getting what you need when you need it. That's why more Americans are turning to All Family Pharmacy. They've built a system that's simple, safe, and secure. It's simple because you go online, you choose what you need, and fill out a short medical form. It's safe as a licensed doctor reviews your request and prescribes if appropriate. And it's secure. Your information and transactions are protected from start to finish. They offer access to more than 400 prescription medications, from everyday maintenance medications to antibiotics, antivirals, ivermectin, mebendazole, NAD+, and more, all shipped directly to your door. No confusion, no delays, just a better way to get what you need. So just go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. And at checkout, save that 10%. RSBN 10 is the way to go there for that 10% off. All right, so we started our broadcast at about 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We played off the top of that broadcast, or this broadcast, President Trump speaking with reporters upon arriving back to Joint Base Andrews yesterday after his Coast Guard commencement speech in Connecticut. So if you want to see that, of course, you can replay the broadcast from the beginning and you'll be able to see that. Also, I believe we have some time. We usually have a little wiggle room here. As soon as we see the White House live feed, we'll go right to it. But for clip 2, we can go to a U.S. Navy Throwback Thursday, as the nation's 250th, of course, is around the corner. Let's check it out.
With America's 250th anniversary on the horizon, we turn to Massachusetts, where some of the earliest chapters of American sea power began. In 1775, General George Washington commissioned the schooner Hannah from the port of Beverly, Massachusetts, often recognized as the first ship of the Continental Navy. Today, Massachusetts remains home to the historic Charlestown Navy Yard in Boston, where the legendary USS Constitution, the world's oldest commissioned warship afloat, continues to be crewed by active duty sailors. The state is the birthplace of naval leaders and heroes like Medal of Honor recipient Captain Thomas J. Hudner Jr. and NASA astronaut and former Navy SEAL Captain Chris Cassidy. The Navy's story is told through the 80-plus ships named for its people and places, including the Virginia-class submarine USS Massachusetts, the 8th ship to carry the state's namesake. From one of the first ships of the Continental Navy to the world's oldest warship afloat, Massachusetts' naval heritage helped shape the foundation of America's sea power. Did any of these facts surprise you? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to check out the next video in our exploration of 13 colonies, 1 navy.
Always good to look back at some of the history there. Let's go now to Los Angeles as Mayor Spencer Pratt, his team, and others out there, they keep posting these political ads using AI. Let's check some of them out. And also, before we do, as soon as we see that live feed of the White House, we'll take you there. So let's go to Spencer Pratt for now.
The Palisades isn't going to come back for a long time. And it's so depressing.
The Palisades feels like it's frozen in time. The film crews are all gone. The headlines have faded off. Nobody cares about the Palisades anymore.
Breaking into some programming because the White House is about to go live. Those are videos you can check out on Spencer Pratt's page. Let's go to the White House.
We have tremendous people behind me. You'll be hearing about that in a minute. Today is my honor to be discussing the taking of a very historic action to substantially lower costs for consumers, protect hundreds of thousands of jobs, and save Americans well over $2 billion a year by officially terminating the Biden administration's ridiculous regulations imposing costly requirements on refrigerators and air conditioners. It's ridiculous, unnecessary, and costly, and actually makes the machinery worse. I want to thank EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, Senators John Husted. John, thank you. I heard you're doing very well in your race, I hear. That's what the word is. And Ashley, I know you're doing very well also. Ashley Moody, Florida, great. As well as Representatives Stephanie Bice, Zach Nunn, and Craig Goldman. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you all. You look good. We're joined by Kroger CEO. That's a big one. Kroger, that's a big, I see those stores all over the place. Greg Foran. Where's Greg? Greg? Very good. You look like Central Casting. Just like you're supposed to look. Fairway Store CEO Reynolds Kramer.
Right here, Mr. President.
Okay. Hello, Reynolds.
Hello there.
Maybe I won't look around every time. Why Not Stop CEO and co-owner Ann Guthier. Ann?
Yeah.
Because it's Ann, I'm going to. Columbiana Foods co-owner Ron Graff Sr.
Right here. Right behind you. Right behind you.
Hello, Ron. Neiman Foods President Richard Neiman.
Right here, sir.
Hi, Richard. Piggy, well, that's a nice, Piggly Wiggly franchise owner. And that's a big company, too. It's actually a cute name. Kevin McDaniel. Where's Kevin? How's that name playing? Good?
Piggly Wiggly, doing great.
Piggly Wiggly. I've heard that, actually. That's great. Franchise owner, Kevin. So you met Kevin. And Food Fresh owner, Michael Gay.
Right
Food
here.
Fresh.
President.
Hi, Michael. How are you, Michael? And this is a representative group of very large-scale retailers. Under the Biden administration, the so-called technology transition rule, which was crazy, forced companies to adopt specific high-cost refrigerants, massively driving up the price of transporting and storing refrigerants and various goods. Many grocery stores and restaurants had no choice but to replace their refrigerators entirely. They went out of business, half of them. And these costs rose. Americans faced higher grocery prices and reduced access to critical medical supplies. It was a very catastrophic thing that they did. At the same time, this rule also drove up the cost of living by forcing consumers to purchase higher cost residential air conditioning units. They went up very substantially in cost, and also they were going to be obsolete very quickly. It created national security risks by adding additional hurdles to the already complicated process of manufacturing semiconductors. So it was a mess. Likewise, the so-called emissions rule imposed crippling leak repair requirements on virtually all existing large-scale refrigeration systems, hurting consumers and small businesses, making it almost impossible for many small businesses to even buy inferior equipment. And this is all across the country. The higher cost threatened thousands of jobs and was passed on in the form of higher prices and higher taxes. Today's reforms will deliver significant financial relief, saving American families and businesses more than $2.4 billion. Think of that, each year. Thanks to today's reforms, the American people have lower grocery prices, cheaper transportation of goods, lower costs of air conditioning, at no detriment at all to our country. Zero, including environmental detriment. My administration's historic deregulatory agenda has already saved our country an estimated $1.2 trillion. That's been done over a relatively short period of time. 1.2 trillion with a T. We're committed to fixing and really completely ending Biden's disastrous regulatory policies and delivering financial relief to each and every American, which is what we're doing. This was a tremendous burden, a tremendous cost. These people had to live with it, not only refrigerants, but a lot more. And it was making the equipment unaffordable. And the actual benefit was nothing. It just made it worse. It made life worse, and it made it worse, and it drove up costs tremendously. So now I'd like to ask Administrator Lee Zeldin, who's absolutely fantastic. He's doing an incredible job. We're proud of you, Lee. Really, the job you're doing is incredible. Followed by Greg, Kevin, and Michael. Is that okay? Lee, go ahead, please.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. As you know, many Americans were expressing a lot of frustration and anger of this rushed, frantic, reckless sprint by the Biden administration to phase out reliable equipment for grocery stores, for restaurants, and for homes. And the consequences, well, they've been devastating. And once again, the Trump administration is answering the call, which will lower the cost of living for hardworking American families. Now look at this chart to your far right. Today's actions are saving over $2.4 billion for American families. It's safeguarding 350,000 jobs. Just at supermarkets alone, we're going to see a savings of $800 million, which Americans will be able to see when they go and buy their food. The Biden EPA face planted when trying to jam through their restrictions. Americans who wanted to be able to fix their equipment were instead being required to buy far more costly new equipment, and that just doesn't make any sense. Refrigeration trucks were being handed impossible restrictions to meet. And once again, here we are in the Oval Office. President Trump is righting another wrong. At the Trump EPA, we are proudly implementing President Trump's agenda every single day and delivering for the American people.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Please.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Lee. Look, on behalf of the Kroger Company, and we operate about 2,700 supermarkets, an orderly transition of equipment reduces both capital costs and operating costs. And at the end of the day, that's good for consumers because we're able to take that and put that into lowering prices, which is the key objectives that we have in our business. So thank you very much.
And you were able to save a lot of money and put it elsewhere by not having to do this ridiculous.
Exactly. So it allows us, instead of having to outlay more capital at a faster rate and more operating costs, to change that equipment.
Or to replace a refrigerator that's working perfectly, right?
Yeah. So that allows us, obviously these things have a lifespan, but an orderly transition allows us to move through that in a way which keeps the price of groceries down, and that's something that we're desperately focusing on, Mr. President.
Great. Thank you very much. Next.
My name's Kevin McDaniel. We operate 14 Piggly Wiggly stores in North Florida, Alabama, and Georgia. On behalf of NGA, the Piggly Wiggly family, which has about 250 stores in the Southeast, we want to thank President Trump for rolling this terrible Biden legislation back, because without it, there would have been a lot of independents out of business. And what people don't realize is it's just not a refrigerant change. It was a equipment change. And those equipment per store, you take a store, our stores run from 25 to 50,000 square feet. You could look for $800,000 to $1.5 million per store to do a change out. That would have done.
The new equipment would not be as good as the old equipment.
No, absolutely not.
It would be inferior equipment because you weren't able to use a refrigerant.
It was thrown together too fast. The technology's not there yet. It's just way too fast. That's the problem. Good idea, but it's terrible. So you would have had all these independents go out of business. You'd had independents out of business, and you would have seen grocery prices soar. That's what would have happened if this would have went through. President Trump, thank you very much. On behalf of every independent in the United States, we cannot thank you enough for what you've done for us. Thank you so much.
I mean, just the bottom line is, so you have great equipment that works incredibly, takes care of your meats and foods and everything else, beautiful refrigeration systems. Take it out and replace it with stuff that barely works, costs a fortune, and it's no good. Think of it. And everyone's going to go bankrupt because the equipment is much more expensive on top of everything else. Yep. So the big thing now, we got to get rid of the law that was signed quite a while ago, and we have to get rid of that because ultimately we want to make it permanent. There's no negative impact by having a good system, but there's a tremendous impact. I think it's going to be bad because a lot of people said the other stuff doesn't cool your product.
No, it's probably.
It's so crazy. Please.
Michael Gay, I have a single store, Food Fresh, in Claxton, Georgia. And exactly, to echo everyone up here, these refrigeration costs, I'm the only store in a county of 10,000. I literally, 2 years ago, put in equipment that should have about 20 more years of useful life. And to replace literally every single piece of equipment in our store would have been unbelievably cost prohibitive, driving up costs as we fight every day to try to keep them as low as we can. And, if that cost gets too high, especially attached to a regulation, do you have independent stores close in neighborhoods that once I go away, you've created a food desert? So it's very beneficial that this happened today. It's much more complicated than anyone thinks, and to try to rush this through was just the wrong way to go. So we're very appreciative of you today.
Thank you. I have one grocer who's a friend of mine. He's pretty big, and he said, I'm going to go ahead of the schedule, and he actually replaced a lot of his equipment. He called me up. He said, this crap doesn't work. It doesn't cool the food. So you know about that, right? Yes. What a shame. Okay, Kevin, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, sir, that this is part of your overall deregulatory agenda, and the big number, 1.2 trillion, is the savings so far, but we're going to be hitting that every year. And we're rolling back stuff that everywhere we look, there's stuff that's as awful as this. And I think that really one of the leaders has been Lee, because the EPA has been a holdup for so many years. But Lee is just out there saving Americans money. And right now, again, if you look at that number, it's $14,000 per family has been saved at reduced costs because of your deregulatory.
Do we agree that Lee is an MVP candidate? MVP. No, he's done a great job, and he sees what's good, and he's a big environmentalist. I mean, he wants to make sure everything is good, but he also sees stupid things like this. Senator, would you like to each speak to this?
Well, Mr. President, I'd like to thank you for this because this hits our goal of trying to keep prices low for working families in America, cost of food. I have the Graff family here. right behind it, they operate 3 grocery stores in Columbiana County. They had already upgraded their refrigeration systems a few years ago. This was going to cost them millions of more dollars in Columbiana County, which is not an affluent county. It has a grocery store in East Liverpool, Ohio, which is the hometown of the late great Lou Holtz. And these people, not only would it raise food costs, but it might force them to shut a grocery store down so that the town didn't even have a grocery store. So you're saving money for working families and their grocery prices. You're also saving grocery stores so that we don't have food deserts in rural places across our country.
Yep.
Mr. President, I think it is so important that the people see what you choose to hang right by your desk, which is the Declaration of Independence, which is a reminder that government at its core is supposed to function in a way that allows people the opportunity to pursue happiness and not work against them by coming up with regulations that just make it harder to live, more expensive to live. And from day one, I remember standing with you with the same crew of folks. From day one, you have been digging into all of these regulations that are issued with no thought to how they affect real people and real small businesses and businesses trying to step up and provide jobs and lift up their communities. Thank you for that. Thank you for getting back to the core of what government is supposed to be, and that is working in the interests of the people.
Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you very much.
Amen.
Good job. Thank you, everybody. Right. So any questions, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. How much do you expect that this will save the average American family every week on groceries? And do you expect this change to help Republicans?
It's very, very substantial. There's going to be a big saving. We're breaking it down. In fact, numbers are coming out this afternoon sometime, but the average family will save a lot of money, and you can have stores. You know, nobody actually thought of it until it was mentioned this morning. You will have stores closing down in areas where they're not going to have a store anymore. That's right. And you really are being forced to spend money, much more money, on much more expensive equipment that really doesn't work. This friend of mine is a very savvy guy, and big league stuff, and he put some in because he wanted to see, and he said the stuff doesn't work. It doesn't cool the food properly. That's why they call the thing that we're talking about a refrigerant. For a reason, it's a refrigerant. So that's it. Please, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. President Trump. Are there any assurances from the grocery chains that they'll pass these savings down to consumers?
Well, let's ask Kroger about that. Come on. That's a very good question. You have the biggest right here.
Yeah. We're actually right in the middle of doing that at the moment. So we're concerned about the cost of living. It makes a big difference when you get your pricing right, and we certainly are interested in ensuring that all our customers right across the country are paying the right price.
If it were the right thing to do, if it would be, bad for the environment, what they had, I'm all for it. I'm all for that stuff. But when you're forced to put in very inferior equipment that's not going to work, you're going to be wasting a lot of food product because it doesn't cool the food properly. And it's actually a bad thing, and the bad thing is more expensive than what they already have. And in many cases, they just put it in. They just put in the other apparatus, and a lot of people have said they've spent money recently to do it, and then this rule came up out of nowhere, and the stuff they just put in, they have to change. I'd be all for changing if it was good, even if it was a little bit good. But this is actually bad.
Yeah, do you not have any environmental concerns, though, with this?
No, there is no environmental concern. And Lee covered that really well. There's no environmental concern. It's not going to have any impact on the environment.
Mr. President, with many Americans concerned about affordability ahead of the midterms, there is some backlash among Senate Republicans to some of your other priorities, the ballroom and the anti-weaponization fund. You clearly still have a stronghold in the Republican Party. Your candidates did very well this week during the primaries. But are you losing control of the Senate?
My candidates did well. Not all candidates did well.
But are you losing control of the Senate, sir? Are you losing control of the Senate, Senate Republicans?
I don't know. I really don't know. I can tell you, I only do what's right. I don't need money for the ballroom. I'm making a gift of the ballroom. This is the biggest misreporting that I've ever seen. The ballroom is being built. It'll cost. It was going to be $200 million. I've doubled the size of it because we need it, and it's being done in conjunction with the military and with the very much in conjunction with the military and Secret Service. We're on time, on budget. It's going beautifully. have all the money I need. We're making a gift to the United States. They came along and they said, we want to make it the White House overall, more secure. And I understand that. Not for me, because I'll be gone, I'll be gone and you'll have somebody else in for hopefully hundreds of years. But that's what they're doing it for. The ballroom is paid for. It's a gift. I mean, I want to make it clear, because so many people say, I thought you were giving this away. And all of a sudden, the money that they're spending is for security, having to do maybe around the ballroom and other parts of the house. But this is not for the ballroom. The ballroom is being a tremendous amount of what's being done with respect to the ballroom is for national security, including, as an example, a drone port on top of, which was top secret until litigation made it less than top secret. But we have a drone port. We have the glass that's 4 inches thick, bulletproof glass. We have bulletproof walls. We have things. You need a place like this. But this is being made as a gift from me and other people that are great patriots that spend a lot of money. We're building what will be the finest ballroom anywhere in the world. If they want to spend money on securing the White House, I think it would be very, very much a good expenditure. But the ballroom is being built.
Well, what if Congress doesn't sign off on the security money, sir?
Then the White House won't be a very secure place.
But and then regarding Cuba, there was an aircraft carrier that just arrived there this week, a Nimitz aircraft carrier. Are you sending that there to intimidate the Cuban government?
No, not at all. The Cuba, look, it's a failed country. Everybody knows it. They don't have electricity. They don't have money. They don't have really anything. They don't have food. And we're going to help them along, and we're going to help them because the people, because number one, I want to help them. I want to on a humanitarian basis, but we have the Cuban American population, much of it living in Miami and Florida. That's a great group of people, amazing group of people, industrious, they're great Americans. They've wanted this to happen. They want to go back to their country. They want to help their country. I hope they're going to stay here, but they want to go back. They want to invest in their country and, see if they can bring it back. Other presidents have looked at this for 50, 60 years doing something, and it looks like I'll be the one that does it, so we'd be happy to do it. We want to open it up to Cuban Americans where they can go back and help.
The CDC released a report this morning, their report on the last election on why you won and Democrats lost. One thing that it mentions is how they failed to reach Middle America, Southern Americans. Do you think they've learned lessons from that election, and have you seen that report?
I think the elections are so rigged, and we have to do something about it, and we're going to do something about it. But we cannot continue to have, and frankly, the Senate and the House, they ought to get together and they ought to pass the Save America Act so that you have voter ID, and it's so important you have proof of citizenship, little thing like proof of citizenship, and also mail-in voting, which is so crooked. So in Maryland, as you probably saw, they had 500,000 mail-in votes that were corrupt. They were corrupt. They said the printer made a mistake. Don't believe that. And they got caught with 500,000 mail-in ballots that were corrupt. We've got to stop it. We have a country that has a very corrupt, we have more corrupt elections than third world countries have. And we ought to get smart. Pass the Save America Act. That'll be a long way. You have voter ID, voter identification. The Democrats don't want to pass. Now, I'll tell you what, the Democrat voters do want to pass, 87%. But the Democrat politicians don't want to pass. And the reason is they'd never be elected again. Because with their policy of open borders, transgender for everyone, I call it transgender mutilization of your children for everybody, men playing in women's sports, all of the stuff that they do, high taxes. They want a tax hike. They voted in favor of high taxes. They voted against a tax cut. They voted in favor of men playing in women's sports. I don't know what these people are thinking. The only way they can win is to cheat, and that's what they want to do. And we ought to pass the Save America Act. Yeah, please.
Yes, Mr. President. I have two questions for you. One of them, which you love. First about the ballroom, and the second about Iran. First, I'm curious, what is the stone that you're going to be using? And I asked that for a reason, because I live in Stafford County, and you know a lot about history and stuff like that. So you know the stone that was quarried for the Capitol and the White House is from Stafford County. They still have quarries, so hint, hint. down there. Just
We're
curious.
using marbles and granite.
Okay.
Mostly marbles and granite.
All right, excellent. And then my second question is, the Vice President mentioned the other day there would be accommodations, they were willing to make accommodations with the Iranian deal. Could you kind of expand on those possible accommodations? Does that include...
When you say combination of what?
Accommodations, he's talking about accommodations as far as making the deal going. Would that include the
I can't tell you.
proxies?
Right now, we're negotiating, and we'll see. But either we're going to get it one way or the other. They're not going to have a nuclear weapon. You know, when people hear it, because oftentimes they won't put up the second part of the sentence having to do with, I'll say, this is more important than anything that we have to talk about, and usually they'll cut it off, the fake news. I said, because this is the nuclearization of a country that some people would say is somewhat crazy, and we cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all it is. We can't let it. You will have a nuclear war in the Middle East, and that war will come here. That war will go to Europe. We cannot let that happen, and it won't happen. It's not going to happen. That's more important than anything else. We can't think. I can think of nothing that's more important than the fact that we cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon, and we won't. Yeah, Jeff.
Following up on that, sir, Iran is negotiating with Oman to set up a formalization of charging tolls in the Strait of Hormuz. Is that acceptable to you?
Well, we're looking at it. We hear about it. They've negotiated. They've had a relationship with them before, and we'll see. We have total control of the Strait of Hormuz, as you know, with our blockade. The blockade's been 100% effective. Nobody's been able to get through. It's like a steel wall. It's our Navy. We have the greatest military anywhere in the world. We wiped out their Navy. We not wiped out their air. I think they're down to about, I would say we knocked out 85% of their missile capacity. It's very hard for them now to build missiles, to build drones. We have great drone technology, anti-drone technology now that, frankly, we didn't have even 2 months ago. We have unbelievable drone technology, both for making them and also for knocking them down. But look, we're going to either make sure they don't have a nuclear weapon, or we're going to have to do something very drastic. And the people of the country, I believe when it's put to the people of our country, they will all agree that we cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon.
How do you want things to end up? Just one follow-up on that. How do you want things to end up with the Strait of Hormuz, though? Would you like them to have control of that?
We want it free. We don't want tolls. It's international. It's an international waterway. They're not charging tolls. Right now, they are losing $500 million a day is what it's projected. I don't know, it sounds like a lot of money, but whether it's 500 or 200 or 300, they're losing a lot of money. There hasn't been a ship that's been able to get through without our approval. And the Navy has done an amazing job. And no ship is going to Iran, as you know. No ship is going to, or out of Iran without our approval.
Can they keep their highly enriched uranium?
No, we get the highly enriched. We will get it. We don't need it. We don't want it. We'll probably destroy it after we get it, but we're not going to let them have it. Okay?
Mr. President, I have two questions. First on deregulation, second on the Supreme Court. You, coming from business, you've seen the effects of what unnecessary red tape can do to business. Do you believe that given the amount of deregulatory actions taken along with this, going back to the endangerment finding, the CAFE standards, tax cuts, tariffs, do you believe that you've made the United States the most pro-business, pro-investment country in the world?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question, because we are. For every one new regulation that we had, we're getting rid of 20 to 30 to 40, and now it's actually at even a number. In my first term, for every regulation that was added, we got rid of a minimum of 10. And I understand, Lee, that it's up to 43 or 44 right now. So if we add a regulation, we get rid of 43, 44. We're making it a much more pro-business, pro-people. You know, regulations are very costly for the people. They're bad for everybody. They're bad for jobs, bad for everybody. And we have, as of today, we have more people working in the United States than at any time in the history of our country. To me, it's one of my favorite stats. But we have more people today working in the United States than at any time in the history. And this is with the Iran conflict. That'll end soon, very soon. And when it ends, your gasoline prices will go down lower than they were before. You know, I left Iowa a few months ago, and gasoline was at $1.85 a gallon. That's right. And we'll be hitting numbers like that again.
Mr. President, on the Supreme Court.
We'll be hitting them in a much nicer way, by the way. We will be hitting them, and we will have a country that will not have a nuclear weapon. Yeah, Daniel?
So what is today's executive? On the Supreme Court, sir, we're still waiting for the decision on birthright citizenship. You attended the oral arguments of that. Can you just explain what's at stake with that decision, sir?
It's a big decision that we're waiting for from the Supreme Court. We had a terrible tariff decision. They cost our country a fortune. They said do it a different way. We're doing it a different way, but we're going to most likely have to pay back $149 billion. All they had to do is put a little sentence in there, half a sentence, saying that any monies paid don't have to be paid back. You know, you're talking about the people in many cases that hate our country. Give them back money. It was a terrible decision. And it's not going to affect because we do the tariffs a different way. The tariffs are what's bringing in all of this money. It's really made our country rich, modernly rich. Now we have another one coming up, which is birthright citizenship. And we're the only country in the world that has it. You step into our country and you're all of a sudden a citizen. You come in a certain way. This was not meant for Chinese billionaires to have their children become citizens of our country. This was meant, or other rich people, poor people. This was meant for the babies of slaves. This was signed right after the Civil War. You look at the dates alone, immediately after. This was having to do with the babies of slaves. And people have used it. And if this is allowed to stand, it will be a disaster economically for our country. And you'll have 25% of the people coming into our country coming in through birthright citizenship. And we won't have any control. This decision by the Supreme Court is a very big one. They'll probably rule against me because they seem to like doing that. Frankly, I'm not happy with some of the decisions. Look at NIL. Look what they've done. Look what the courts have done to college sports. They're destroying college sports. They're destroying universities. But birthright citizens are a big deal. And literally, if that's allowed to stand, and again, this was a civil war. This was right after the Civil War, and it has to do with the babies of slaves. It doesn't have to do with the babies of very rich people coming into the country. One of them came in with 57 children, okay, 57 children. They're using the system, and it's usually people that hate our country, if you want to know the truth. Birthright citizen is done by no other country in the world the way we're doing it. We're a laughing stock. And if the Supreme Court approves that decision, they have done a great disservice to the United States of America, just like they did a great disservice by costing us $149 billion on tariffs by saying do it a different way. Get the same result, do it a different way. We should have won that decision. We had a very strong, very powerful dissent. We had 3 dissents. So it wasn't like a unanimous decision by any means. We had very powerful dissents. When you read that dissent, people that read that dissent say you really should have won this case. We should have won that case on tariffs. That case cost our country $149 million. It goes to people that hate our country. So now we have another one coming up, birthright citizenship. It would be a disgrace. It would be a disgrace if the Supreme Court of the United States allows that to happen. Remember what I said, 20 to 25% of the people coming into our country will come in through birthright citizenship. They'll become citizens through birthright citizenship, and it'll cost us numbers that are, I don't even think they're doable. And it's all up to a couple of people. And I hope they do what's right. Birthright citizenship is a disgrace. The fact that, look at the people that are bringing the suit. Study the people that are bringing the suit. These are not people that love our country, I can tell you that.
Mr. President, why has today's executive order on AI been postponed?
Because I didn't like certain aspects of it. I postponed it. I think it gets in the way of, we're leading China, we're leading everybody, and I don't want to do anything that's going to get in the way of that lead. We have a very substantial on AI. It's causing tremendous good, and it's also bringing in a lot of jobs, tremendous numbers of jobs. Again, we have more people working right now than we've ever had. I really thought that could have been a blocker, and I want to make sure that it's not.
Mr. President, with President Xi last week, did you discuss AI safeguards?
Who, what?
In China last week with President Xi,
Yes.
Did you discuss AI safeguards?
I discussed it. And he acknowledges how well we're doing. We're doing well. He's doing. It's the two of us. The two countries are fighting for it. Other countries are way behind, way behind. They're fighting for it. They want it. Everybody wants it, but they're way behind. But I didn't want to do it. I postponed that meeting. It was a press conference. It was a signing, actually, because I didn't like what I was seeing.
Mr. President, a few moments ago, the Commission of Fine Arts approved your design, the design for your arch. Do you think you need congressional approval for it?
I finally get good news from them.
Do you think you need
What was the
congressional
vote? Do you know what the
approval
vote
for it,
was? What was the vote?
I'm just seeing the headline here. I don't have the exact vote. But
So we're building what's called the Triumphal Arch right opposite the Arlington Memorial Bridge, right by Arlington Cemetery. It's beautiful. It's the Arc de Triomphe would be the one that you would probably know in Paris. It's one of the most beautiful. It's a very similar size, slightly larger. We have to do slightly larger. It doesn't have to be a lot larger. Otherwise, you'd all be disappointed in me. But it's even far more beautiful. And I think that the Arc de Triomphe is beautiful. It's a couple of 100 years old, but I think it's beautiful. And some arcs go back over 1,000 years. And it's called a triumphal arc. It's usually done for victories in war and things. 59 of them in the world. And some are really beautiful. And we're the only major, Washington, D.C., which should be number one. We're the only important and major city that doesn't have one. We don't have a triumphal arch. So it was meant to be built for many years. The circle going up to the bridge, it was, people pass that circle, they say, why isn't something built here? And so that's very good. We just got approval from Fine Arts. That's fantastic.
Right, but you need Congress to sign off on it.
No, we don't. No, we're doing it. It's the land is owned by the Interior Department. We don't need anything from Congress.
Are you attending your son's wedding this weekend, by the way?
He'd like me to go, but it's going to be just a small little private affair, and I'm going to try and make it. I'm in the midst. I said, this is not good timing for me. I have a thing called Iran and other things. That's one I can't win on. If I do attend, I get killed. If I don't attend, I get killed. By the fake news, of course, I'm talking about. No, but he's got a very person who I've known for a long time, and hopefully they're going to have a great marriage.
Mr. President, actually to add to the art, I just actually passed by it on my way here, saw that the pink flags, and there's just geese that are there all the time. So that's perfect. How long will that take? And also I have to say, I have to pass along something for my mother, who she drove in with me. She was amazed by all the people she was seeing on the streets here in D.C. She doesn't get in here as much. But she was noticing how clean and beautiful it was, so I'm passing it along.
That's right. Well, that's the way I do. Clean. Take a look outside. We had broken path. It was so terrible coming into the White House. It was slate. Slate's a roofing material. It's not a walking material. But the slate was all broken and chipped and terrible. And I put down a new granite floor and paid for it myself, by the way. But I put down a nice new granite floor. It looks beautiful. It's actually getting rave reviews. It's beautiful. It's a terrible having people walking up to the White House and they're walking over broken tiles and broken floors. So now we just finished. It's going to be finished when the moldings are put on. But you might take a look at it. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's beautiful.
It's very beautiful.
Of other things we're doing while you're at it, we have 31 fountains in Washington. Of the 31, not one worked. Now we have 21 working, and the others are going to be fixed. And people are calling and saying, it's amazing what's happened, the fountains. And they're working top level. And my most exciting is the reflecting pool between the Washington Monument and the Washington Monument Lincoln Memorial. It's 2,500 feet long by almost 200 feet wide. It's a massive structure, if you think of it. It's taller than the tallest building in the world. If you sat the building down, the tallest building in the world would not reach the end of it. It's a very big thing. It hasn't worked properly since it was built in 1922. President Obama and Biden spent hundreds of millions of dollars trying to fix it. They didn't. Of course, they couldn't do that. They didn't fix it. It was a mess. So mostly they turned it off, collecting garbage. It looked horrible. And we are very close to getting it finished. And when it's finished, it'll be beautiful. It'll be blue water, dark blue. We call it American flag blue because that's the name of the color that we chose. American flag blue. Can't do better than that. It's a rich, dark blue, and it'll be, I think, very reflective, very, very good. Big project. I decided to do a much bigger job. I was going to just get it open, but I said, let's do it right. Let's get it open, and let's have it be good, because President Obama, President Biden spent hundreds of millions of dollars, much more than 100 million, but hundreds of millions. It never worked. In fact, when they finished it, it was much worse than it was before. It leaked at a higher level. They would have to fill it up every single day with water. The whole thing was ridiculous, so they ended up turning it off, and it became like a garbage dump. Well, it's pretty close to finished. So they had estimates of $350 million to fix it. I'll be doing it for a tiny fraction of that. A bigger job than I originally thought I'd do it for $2 or $3 million, just do a base. But now we're fixing up the exterior of it. So we'll probably be in there for less than $20 million. And the estimate was going to be using a different method, 350. It was going to take 4 years, 350 million. I'll be doing it in basically a couple of months for less than $20 million. That includes all of the exterior base, which I never included in my original numbers. When I went there last week, I saw the exterior was in very bad shape, as well as the interior, so I said, we're going to fix that too. The stone. It's going to be beautiful. When that's done, you might see it. It's probably 3/4 done. We have rain delays. We get a lot of delays, but that will be something special. The reflecting pool in front of the Lincoln and Washington monuments. I think it's going to be incredible. It's largely done. If you want to go see it, you can see it before we put the water in. The key is to have it done before July 4th. We want to see if we can have it done before July 4th. But we have about 20 or 21 of the water features in Washington open. And I can say we top of the line. They look better than they did the day they were built. Some of them have been closed for 25, 30 years. There's been no water for 25 or 30 years. And they're really beautiful. Some of the fountains are as beautiful as I've ever seen. And you probably see them. And in addition to that, you brought up something. Washington, D.C. is now a safe city. We had a city that was one of the most unsafe cities anywhere in the country, and now it's considered a very safe city. Restaurants are opening. Restaurants were closing. You couldn't go to a restaurant. The restaurants were closing all over because of the danger from during the Biden administration. Now you have restaurants opening. It's thriving, and it was very nice that you said that. I like this reporter. No, it's nice. We have a vibrant city again. People are going out. I have a lot of people in the White House. Every time I see somebody, they thank me, and I know immediately what. They thank me for making the city safe. They walk to work now. Before that, they'd take Uber or something, and they felt unsafe even in Uber. You know, we moved over 5,000 people out of the city, career criminals that came in through the open borders and other reasons, and we moved over 5,000. And an interesting statistic is that 2% of the population creates 91% of the crime. And the reason I like that is that you can handle 2% of the population. Mr. Kroger, I see you have stores in Washington. You see a big difference?
We do.
Well, you said the right thing. Could you imagine? That would have been the end of Kroger. All right, okay, we'll do one or two more.
Do you think Democrats are genuine in their focus on affordability, especially after they delivered 40-year high inflation last time they were in power? And then, or do you think they're using it or focusing on it as a means to try and win midterms and begin the impeachment process?
The second. Look, The Democrats had the highest inflation in the history of our country. 48 years, they say, but the history of our country. They had the highest inflation that we've ever had. When I inherited it, I inherited very high prices. And from day one, they said, affordability. Affordability is a word, because they're good at that. They're good at words, but I'm good at words too. But they hit me with affordability. I'd just gotten there. They hit me with eggs. We had a news conference on my third day, and they said, egg prices are through the roof. I said, I just got here. Tell me about eggs. And we got the prices down, way down, actually lower than it was 4 years before. But we've gotten everything. The thing that we have now, the only thing that's really of great concern, two things. Beef is coming down, and the reason is they put restrictions on beef under the Biden administration, and it takes a while to settle that, but prices are down. But the big thing is, of course, energy. We had the energy way down, but I had to do a journey to Iran. I had to say, you know, we just hit the best markets. By the way, the stock market today is at the highest it's ever been, and we've had 59 of them, 59 days out of a very short period of time where the stock market hit all-time highs. So we have an all-time high stock market. We have all-time high job numbers. We have 401ks just hit the highest number they've ever been. So many of you have 401ks. That means you're richer than you've ever been. And we're doing really well. But they came up with this word, affordability. But it's them that caused the problem. And they use that word, Senator, they use that word right from the beginning. I was in one day, and I heard somebody on television say, affordability. And I inherited this mess from them. But we've got it in great shape. The country's doing well. We're respected all over the world. This country is respected. We're the hottest country. We were a dead country 2 years ago. And now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. So I think most of you appreciate that. Some of you don't. Yeah, please.
Terry Pickett, Washington Times. If the Supreme Court doesn't rule in your favor on birthright citizenship, are there any other avenues that your administration has explored to remedy this? And did you talk with President Xi about Chinese foreign nationals taking advantage of birth tourism here in this country and how many can pass?
Well, that's a great question. No, if the Supreme Court hurts our country by ruling against us on birthright citizenship, that would be just between that and tariffs, what damage they've done. What damage they've done. Again, they could have said, which they said, do the tariffs a different way. But they could have said the money taken in, hundreds of billions of dollars, $149 billion we have to pay back. Kevin understands that better than anybody. All they had to do is say, any money taken in, because they agree you could do it a different way. Any money, this is a better way. But the other way is a very secure way. And maybe in many ways it's a stronger way. They could have said any money taken in thus far does not have to be paid back to, in many cases, the enemy, people that don't like our country. Or it was a half a sentence. The Supreme Court could have saved us $149 billion with a half a sentence. But they chose not to do that. Now they have a ruling which is a much bigger ruling, actually, birthright citizenship. The cost, forgetting about the fact that it's wrong, the cost of birthright citizenship is barely not affordable by our country. It's going to cost hundreds of billions of dollars. And it's in their hands. What can I tell you? It's a common sense ruling. It's common sense. It was exact timing. And it's about the babies of slaves. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Mr. President. So do you think if Democrats were to take control of Congress again, they would immediately begin the impeachment process?
I think if Democrats took control of the Congress, I think that, and let's say took control of the country, I think that this country's finished. These people are sick. They suffer from Trump derangement syndrome, but really they have bad policy. They have horrible policy. They cheat on elections. They get elected by cheating on elections. But you would have 2 states added. They'll terminate the filibuster immediately. Republicans should do that. They'll terminate the filibuster. You'll have Washington, D.C., and you'll have Puerto Rico as a state, which will be a disaster, which would be 4 Senate seats. tremendous numbers of electoral college votes. You will have that's really bad, but you will have the destruction of our country. They want to go to 21 Supreme Court judges. That's their perfect number. They talk about 13, but they want to go to 21 Supreme Court judges. If they get in power, I think this country would be maybe finished. If I didn't win the election, I'll say this, we've become the hottest country anywhere in the world. We were a dead country 2 years ago. If I didn't win this election, we would have been a country that was essentially, I don't even know that we would have been a country any longer. They were destroying our country. They were letting hundreds of thousands, millions of people pour through our southern border, criminals, people from jails, people from mental institutions, drug dealers and drug addicts. They were sending everybody, countries were sending everybody that they didn't want by the millions, 25 million people. If I didn't win this election, I believe our country would have been finished. Thank you very much.
Thank you, press.
Thank you,
press. Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much for joining us here on RSBN. This live stream brought to you by MyPillow, and also if you'd like to donate to Right Side. But let's first start with mypillow.com/RSBN. Of course, high quality products. Great to get some money saved there by using the RSBN promo code. Of course, Mike Lindell running for governor in the great state of Minnesota. So hopefully he gets that victory, man. It would really be great to see things turned around there. So mypillow.com/RSBN, a lot of great products, as you know, quite the discount using the RSBN promo code. Speaking of Right Side Broadcasting Network, if you'd like to donate to the network, all you have to do is go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. Again, rsbnetwork.com/donate. For all of us here at Right Side, I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you again soon.